Hey guys, welcome to my live stream. I'm glad to see everybody in here. We've got a good show for you tonight. First off, I just want to say I wouldn't be able to do all this without you guys watching. So that energized me a little bit. But also, I want to say I wouldn't be able to do this without help. So, with that being said, I have recruited some good help from the YouTube world. A fellow by the name of Kevin Lankin and Lakin from Palmetto Cats. Kevin, come on in and introduce. Let's get this party started.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good. How is everyone tonight out in YouTube world?
Oh man, they look great. You got 152 people watching. You got a birthday super chat from Creole Catfishing.
Well, thank you guys. That is not what this is about, but thank you so much. I just appreciate y'all coming in and watching the old guy. I think we're going to have a pretty good show for tonight. I'm kind of not used to this. I'm kind of nervous. I'm trying to look up here to where I'm supposed to be looking, but I need to look down here to see what's going on. But bear with me. We've got a good show for you guys tonight. I want to take a minute. We got anything we need to say here real quick, Kevin, before I take off and get into
I just want to say happy birthday. I've already told you that, but thank you for of course, getting a lot of us started. To make that intro, I got to go back and look at some of your old videos, and that one right there that's in the intro where you're on the bass boat and that rod dips in the water. That's what got me into hunting big catfish, was that one takedown. So
okay.
I don't know if that makes you feel good or not, but I know that one takedown, I was like, oh my God, I want that. So
yeah.
Happy birthday, man. And I know to everybody, I mean, you got 173 people in here just to talk catfish with you already.
Well, we're going to talk some good catfish tonight. I've got a long show. We're actually going to have a bunch of surprise guests tonight, so everybody stick around. But we've got one fella in particular that I'm excited to share with you guys. I've only recently known Tim Scott a few months, I guess. I've known of him for years and years. He actually started out as a young man, being part of a business, had TV, radio, all that, magazine called Pro Catters, I believe it was. But big magazine, like in the early 2000s. He's full of knowledge, but he had to take a little hiatus because of family. He raised some kids, but now they're gone and he's back to fishing and loves to talk catfishing. So I want to bring Tim Scott in right now to meet all of my good folks. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good, Steve. And you know what? I think I need to adjust my thing here. I was adjusting it a little bit, and it's a little bit different now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll just
did I get your backstory right? Pro Cats was the name of it.
Steve, nobody gets my backstory right because it's so darn long and involved and kind of crazy. My kids are raised now, but they're not out of the house quite yet. And I kind of like it that way. They're good kids to have around,
Right.
Take the garbage out and be, all that stuff. So anyways, it was called Pro Cats Professional Catfishing Association. And we had about 4,000 members, and we had an online magazine, and I constantly was writing for either, smaller papers or magazines such as North American Fisherman, stuff like that. But, yeah, I was a young man then, and now I'm old, but I'm still as excited about catfishing, maybe even more so now that I know even more than I did even back then.
Yeah. Well, we're excited. I do have. We are going to talk about blue catfish tonight, and I want to get started. We're not in no big hurry. We're going to be here for a little while. I know you can talk, and I'm going to be here as long as I possibly can with you guys, as long as we got somebody watching.
And I'm just going to soak it all in, because, and I'll put the chats up and run the back screen, because all I'm here to do is listen to you guys, man. This is an honor just to be up here.
Well, Tim's fishing pretty gnarly water in his years.
Yeah, he is.
I think he'd be confused if he come to the Tennessee River where there's no current, because he's used to all that big current where he's at.
That's true.
Tim can handle anything you throw at him for sure.
I just put out on TikTok, believe it or not, just a short little montage of my super giant that I caught in 2020. And there was a lot of people like, how long did that take you to get in? I said about 30 minutes. And then there was other guys saying, oh, we land big monsters in 5 minutes. I said, yeah, but that's totally different. I said, that's apples to oranges when you're talking the Tennessee River versus the Mississippi River. Now there's parts of the Mississippi that aren't necessarily that fast, but I kind of choose the hardest places to fish, the hardest places to reel in a fish. And, you know, I mean, I've got, rods you could, you know, reel a 600-pound grouper in, and these big catfish really in that kind of current. And because they're so tall, I mean, they're so tall and their tails are so big. I mean, I've landed fish that have a tail that actually covers the steering wheel on my boat. And so, you know, it's all a big learning curve. And I'm not saying it's just what I prefer to do. It's not that I don't look down on any, I don't care if they're catching big fish out of a mud puddle. I think that's cool.
Right. Well, I got a buddy who can do that, believe it or not. And he'll be in here, he'll be in here tonight probably.
Nice.
But well, that brings me to my first question before we get started on all these blue catfish. What is your biggest? I think you've got a couple over triple digits, don't you? A couple big ones?
Yeah, I do. And, you know, I couldn't tell you specifically because, for one, I haven't been able to carry a 100-pound scale that was reliable in the first place, especially back in the day. I mean, I think the first 100-pound fish, 100-plus pound fish that I caught was in, don't quote me, but I think like 2001, 2002, you know, and I was amazed. It was, you know, and I talk about this a lot, and I had fished places with 100-pound fish, but I was just not right on them. I mean, I was just off them. I used my flathead and channel cat mentality. You know, when the water was high, I went too shallow. I focused on cover too much. And until I kind of beat that out of my system, then I started getting on big fish because, you know, I would fish the more comfortable places, the places with the more gentle current. I'm not talking about dead water, or gar and carp water or anything like that. I'm just talking about, you know, pretty good flow. But and I would catch all kinds of 20s and 30s, and every once in a while a 40 and a 50. But to get on those 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140-pound fish, I had to realize that there's no current in the Mississippi. There's no current that's too much for a giant fish. There just isn't. I mean, it will eliminate 30s, 40s, and 50s if you fish in that kind of water.
Right.
But, you know, and especially deeper water, you know, and I say it all the time. I mean, yes, you can catch big fish in 30 foot of water and less, but my main focus is 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60.
Big
you know,
boy.
I don't really get into the hundreds, even though I have, and I've caught big fish in 100-pound, you know, 100 foot of water, but I just don't have that as close access to me. But next year I'm going to be doing some crazy stuff.
So your main water where you fish is like Alton. Is that where you come down to, the Alton, Illinois? And
it is. But I fish the Mississippi from Keokuk all the way down to Alton, depending on how I feel that the blue cats have traveled, because it's a highly migratory situation where they can freely go through these dams if they're running the water right. If they've got the water shut down and we don't get a lot of water, I got to focus farther down. If they've had enough water, not crazy high, because they don't seem to migrate upstream very well during crazy high water. On flatheads and channel cats will, but blues tend to stay home, and it's more or less that beginning part right after the spawn. They start making that migration upstream, and you'll find them 100, 150 miles north of Alton. But if it hasn't, like last year, we didn't do very well upriver, so we had to go downriver and focus on that the whole time.
So when I've seen you on your lives you've done recently, those were like below the dam and above the dam at Alton. Is that right?
They were.
And you got a buddy you fish with. Who's the buddy?
His nickname to me is the greatest fishing friend a guy can ever have.
Right.
He's your hero.
What's that?
He's your hero.
He is. He is and you know what? I have a lot of heroes, but Sean is the closest one to me, just like Steve. Steve has been my catfish hero ever since I saw him on YouTube, doing what he does, catching monster fish and, putting out great information and stuff like that. I mean, jeepers, I feel really honored that he actually contacted me to do this.
Oh,
so yeah, I mean, I even brushed my hair and kind of washed my face. Spiffy, huh? Which I don't normally if I'm going to do lives. I was even worried about lighting and stuff. Yeah. Normally it's kind of a helter skelter thing.
Mm-hmm. Welcome everybody to the stream. I see more people coming in here. Thank you for the birthday wishes. The big 5'8" today. I think.
I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've got the Happy Birthday Steve, my catfish hero, right there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Yep, there it is.
There he is. There you go.
Got a little bit of glare on it, but
you got the whiteboard going on, so I'm assuming we're gonna go to school tonight, huh?
Well, you never know. I mean, I even have a pointer here. We can point. We can do all that stuff. We can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I don't know if we're going to, I just always have it ready, I guess.
Back in the day when Steve had them old orange and pink painted and tipped rods. Oh, yeah. See, Chunky thinks he's all over, but Steve's been there. I was there back there. I could probably find a rod or two that I did, but I didn't do it as nice as Chunky did. I wanted to see my rods, so I just sprayed them, but Chunky, he spends a little time on his rods. He makes them look sharp.
Got a super chat from Danny Cowell for $5. Said, "Happy birthday, Steve."
Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. I remember Danny a long time ago, I think from the Catfish Conference. He's been a couple times, I believe. So anybody got any questions or anything, or are they just hanging out listening?
There was a question that was posed about 3 or 4 times. Unfortunately, I had to time him out, but it's one that a lot of people will probably answer. And just to the chat, if you want a question asked, we're here to listen to Steve and Tim Scott, so I'm not going to interrupt them to ask the question. We will get to it, but somebody asked, why don't you weigh your fish? And Epic kind of told why he doesn't weigh his fish.
It's just too much trouble. I don't want to keep that fish out and measure it and flop it around and all that stuff. But, I know of 2 fish that I feel real confident that I've caught over 100. Now, was it way over? No, probably not. But the last one I caught was on Nickajack back in August during that full moon. So, and I've got a picture of it. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of tape because I lost it, but I was able to capture a picture of it before I lost my footage.
Have you been to San Antonio Lakes?
I have not, but me and Chris Flores are fixing to make some kind of trip out to Texas with some folks. I can't remember who, but we're going to do some alligator gar fishing out there.
There's another catfish hero right there, Chris Flores. Holy moly. He was doing it when, it was pretty much him and Steve. That's all you could find.
Yeah.
You type in giant catfish.
It was actually me. I came first and started doing my thing. Actually, Fat Boy Dan came first. He was doing it all before. And then I kind of followed Fat Boy. And then Chris did it. And then Luke Nichols did it. And then Luke just blowed it out the window. He got like 1 million people.
See, so, I could never find those guys. All I ever found was, you and
really?
Chris Flores. I mean, just pages long of that stuff. And I watched it all.
Chris has got a lot of good videos out there.
Yeah, he does.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, guys, I apologize for having to look. I don't know where I'm supposed to look. I'm like, what's that guy on Talladega Nights? I don't know what to do.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
Dink Over Stink says, I have to ask, what is your go-to hook?
My go-to hook?
But brand.
Mine?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to say right now, Mustad. That's all I've ever been. That's all I've used for the last 15 years, probably, when we first got sponsored by Mustad. The old school days. And I don't really. I think it's a 9.544.
Steve, as an old school guy yourself, we have used every kind of hook you could imagine. I mean, from True Turns to Eagle Claw, the LO42, whatever In Fisherman said, most people back in those days bought it.
Right.
And, and sometimes it was awesome and sometimes it wasn't awesome. And you just got to, just kind of try it out. I mean, holy moly. I mean, we were using O'Shaughnessy's that were so thick that you could barely set the hook on a fish. Matter of fact, Sean, 20 some years ago, got onto a giant flathead and had it on for a while. And that hook, it was so thick it never penetrated.
Right.
It was a regular J hook, one of those big shark looking hooks. And we needed it back in those days because, we were fishing some areas that had gigantic fish.
Right.
And he still says that one keeps him up at night.
Well, there's a lot of them that keep me up at night.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got that one that ripped the whole rod holder off the boat before Steve was so kind to send me some rod holders that wouldn't get ripped off the boat.
Oh.
Yeah, that one was nominated for the Golden Whiskers.
Which one?
Yeah, and I just kind of redid that, and I might put it up on YouTube so there's a better looking because I did a short and it kind of zoomed in on it and it was kind of weird. So this is like a wider version, and I'll probably put that up so people can see it because it was the most aggressive, the most crazy bite I've ever seen. Now, granted, there was a couple of things that made a perfect storm. I had power line and it got jammed on the takedown because I check every time I throw. I check drags or every other time I throw or whatever. So the drag was checked. The problem is with that power line, it just sort of buried in the spool and didn't slip drag. So, I mean, if you got no stretch and a giant fish in fast water, some stuff's going to break. Now that I got Steve's awesome, like steel, not going to get broke like the old style plastic ones. If there's no drag, something's going to break, the line or the rod, because it ain't going to be the rod holder.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely get in a bunch of them out there. Let's see. What do we got?
You had a super chat from Has Life saying, "Sweet doggy, happy birthday, champ."
Sweet doggy. I love these new channels and their sayings and stuff, man. He got well, you got one too, don't you, Kevin? When somebody bam or something, what is it that you say?
Oh, booms.
Boom.
So that would be a boom right there.
And I got all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of crazy stuff just to make it more exciting, you guys have already given all the knowledge and everything. People don't need to learn how to tie a snell hook again, so we got to come up with something different.
Yeah.
Cody from 3+1 asked, Steve, what do you personally consider a big fish? I guess a trophy fish.
It's kind of I don't know. 40+ pound is a big fish to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll catch a 40 pound plus. I just hate to drag and be dragging along and just be aggravated by 15 pound or less ones. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to pull them in.
But you fished the Ohio and the Tennessee, so that's trophy fish for those waters.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, to me, anything that looks like this right here is not what I'm after. Mm-hmm. And if I felt confident to use a fish this size for bait, I would. But I would just have to say that at one time, a 10-pounder was awesome. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, a 20-pounder was awesome. Then I'm 40. And now I'm up to I don't even want to take a picture unless it's 50 or above. But I'm spoiled.
Well, it was a 20-pounder for me that hooked me. I bass fished all my life, and I had a buddy that he bass fished too, but he got into catfishing down at Cumberland City on the Cumberland River, and took me down there one day in December, and didn't catch a fish at all, except at the end of the day we threw up on a log, and I caught a 20-pounder. Nice. And ever since then, I converted my bass boat into a catfish boat, and that was like 18 years ago.
Steve, I helped convert a bunch of bass guys and muskie guys. I've had muskie guys that took guide trips with me that went home and sold everything and switched over to catfish because they'd never seen or felt anything like it. I mean, guys that were catching 50-inch muskies, I put them on, 50, 60, 70-pound flatheads, and they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sold all their, tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear and switched over to catfish, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, but they probably saved a little bit of money.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't know anymore. But yeah, it used to be the catfishing. You could buy a fishing reel for $50, $60.
You
Now,
still can. It's just not the quality.
Not the quality. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, not at all.
Here's a good question: what fights harder, flatheads or blues, and what do you enjoy targeting the most?
I like both of them, but man, you can't beat the powerhouse of a big old flathead. I like the powerhouse of the blues, but the blues tend to want to do this stuff when they get down there. But a flathead, he's just diving and when they start going upriver with you, then you got a good one. But flatheads are going to be my best. But really, everybody says that the channel cats fight better than all of it. I'd love to be able to catch me a 40-pound channel cat and just experience that.
Bingo. They do.
Yeah.
And of course,
speaking of flatheads, look who jumped in.
I would draw it all up on the whiteboard as to the mechanics of why channel cats are harder fighters than flatheads and blues. But I don't think I need to because I've done it before, and a lot of the guys in chat are that. But let's just say a channel cat actually swims in a S motion. A flathead swims one way this way, and the tail goes the other way, and then the head goes that way, and the tail follows. Blues paddle tail. And if you watch them, if you get a big channel cat, something 10, 15, 20 pounds, man, they are really serpentine in their swimming motion. Flatheads are diggers. They've got a wide head, and they really put that power down. They got that square tail. That's pretty awesome. And then the blues are such fast water stuff. They don't really swim all serpentine when they get big. They just move their tail one way or the other, and their body their head doesn't even move hardly, because when you have a giant channel cat on the end of your line, there's mega head shakes. You get a blue of the same size, it's not really mega head shakes. They've got power, but you don't feel that super head shake. And I think that's and let's just say it depends on the situation you're catching them in. Because I've had flatheads that just really double you over and wear you out if he gets in that super fast current. But if they're in that medium current, which most of the time that's where they live, and you get a 60, 70, 80-pound flathead, they'll still put it to you. They're a submarine, but they just don't seem to have the staying power. And that's one thing about a blue. A blue has a longer staying power. The fight is different. But if you catch a blue, a flathead, and a channel in the same situation, that deep, heavy water, it's going to be a toss-up because that flathead is going to use the current against you, digging like a giant, like a big billed crankbait. Whereas a blue is going to paddle tail and then turn sideways and use his height against you, because blues are really tall. Let me go back here. Blues are, big blues are tall. I mean, some of them are like super tall. And so when they even turn a little bit and they shake the head, just whip their head this way, then all of a sudden the current, they're not even swimming away from you. They're just going sideways, just using that current, because they are creatures of current. Now, channel cats, they're the ones that dig into things, and they get into little crevices, and they do that, and they do this. And so they're really, really mobile like this. And so they'll do that, and they'll roll, and then they'll swim up, they'll swim down, stuff like that. Where you don't get that with flatheads. Flatheads, all they want to do is stay towards the bottom and go that way. And they'll shake their head too, whoa, like this. But a big blue, their head shakes, something. I can't compare a 4-foot channel cat to it, because I've never caught a 4-foot channel cat. I've caught 3-foot channel cats, and they're but I usually catch channel cats on lighter gear. If I was to take my blue cat gear and fish for all 3 species, I'm going to have to say, in the same situation, I'm going to have to vote blue cat, even though I love flatheads, and they're a little bit different. But all my flathead gear is about halfway between my channel cat and blue cat gear. Now, my blue cat gear is probably what most people use. You know, my flathead gear is what most people use for blue cats. So,
well, speaking of catfish gear, I want to get into that, but we've got a couple guests that come in. I want to introduce. I seen one of them. One of them's done. There he is. Hervey.
How's it going, guys?
Mr. CatCon Hervey. How you doing, Hervey?
I'm surviving every day. How about you all?
We're having
good.
fun.
But that's the most important thing.
Hanging out on my 58th birthday.
Well,
just hanging out, talking catfishing with everybody.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, and then of course we got our friend Chris Flores. Muddy
Hey,
River
Steve.
Catfishing.
Happy birthday, my friend. You're looking good, man.
Thank you. So we got Tim Epic Catfish in here talking catfishing tonight, but I wanted to bring Hervey in and talk a little bit of catfish conference as well too. We're just going to hit a lot of all kind of topics tonight, guys. Anybody that don't know what the catfish conference is, Hervey is my partner. We started this thing like 7 years ago.
Yep.
In a boat garage, and it's grown into this massive monster that we both love but hate at the same time.
That's the thing about love stories. It's always that love-hate relationship, but at the end of the day, we're always happy, I think.
Yeah. But we've got some cool things happening this year at the Catfish Conference. And Hervey, tell them when the Catfish Conference is.
Oh, February 25th and 26th in Louisville, Kentucky. It's at the Expo Center right across the airport. So you don't want to miss that one. That's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple cool functions this year too that I'm excited to talk on. I'm gonna talk with Kevin here real quick too. Kevin's, if you don't know, Palmetto Cats also started a thing last year called Golden Whisker Awards, where he rewards YouTubers for different things like massive takedowns or best.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. And it's going to be a fun thing. And Hervey and I have kind of invited him to come in and do it at the Catfish Conference. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So, Kevin, explain that to real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So thanks for the plug there. The second annual Golden Whiskers Awards is basically a social media awards show based on catfishing. It's mostly catfishing YouTubers. And for most of the awards, the fans get to pick their favorites. So basically, if you've made good content, you've caught some good fish, or people just really love what you put out there, they nominated you for one of these awards. And actually, we have 3 nominees up here right now. Steve is nominated for his blooper and monster rod holders, and Epic Catfish Tim is nominated for 2 or 3, Guru and Legend, and you got Mr. Chris Flores is nominated for Legend of the Year. So so basically there's a link, and I can post that in chat a little later, and you can go on there and you can vote on who's your favorite. And we have until February 1st, and then live on my channel, Palmetto Cats YouTube channel, and live in person at the Catfish Conference on Friday, February 25th at 5 p.m. Well, actually, I'll be broadcasting from there live, just as we're doing now, but I'll be live in person so that anybody who wins can come up and get their award right there. And it'll be more like the actual Golden Globes.
That's going to be fun.
I got to thank my friend Michael Murillo. Been buddies online for a while. Finally got to meet him at Kansas City, but he put the idea of an award show in my head, and I took it and ran. So he's got the original idea right there. And then my friend Tom from LG Bass came up with the Golden Whiskers. So it's like the Golden Globes of catfishing.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and we'll touch base again with that a little later on. We'll keep people abreast of what's happening. Hervey, any good news with the Catfish Conference this year? Anything new with you?
It's gonna be a great, I think, a great event. First of all, I think we're all very happy to have that at home again. We kind of miss, 2021 because of the pandemic, and although we had, the number 2 in Kansas City, Kentucky is our home event, so we were really glad that we're gonna have everybody back there, for this new edition. We are moving location within the convention center. So we were on the side, and now we have the entire west wing. So it's a humongous space, and I think it's going to be much easier for people to come, park, and then access the convention center.
Right.
Much easier. And of course, we have all the our normal partners, or actually, I should not say normal, exceptional partners, all of them.
Yeah.
And starting from the Crown Plaza, and we have to give them the credit. These guys are just awesome, and they also are, as a brand, maybe not the same team, but as a brand, they made the one in Kansas City really enjoyable too. So, we kind of have to say thank you to them. But again,
I just got a fella that said I got $1,000 bill I'm bringing to the Catfish Conference that he's going to spend at CatCon.
Well, please.
Yeah,
Please,
that'll make our vendors real happy, wouldn't it?
If we can clone you, contact us, DM us. We'll clone you. We have 2 months to grow additional people like you, so it's going to make everybody really happy.
Well, Hervé, speaking of Catfish Conference, Chris Flores, he's one of our oldest vendors that's with us. Chris was at our very first one. He actually got to help us move cars and motors around to just put booths up. Chris, how you think the Catfish Conference has grown over the years? Can you hear me?
It's leaps and bounds, Steve.
Oh.
I remember getting out there, and I remember getting to the boat shop there and walking in and looking around like, so this is it, huh?
Yeah.
It's time to get to work.
Yeah.
We got to hide these jacks and tools and clean up these oil stains, and man, we did it. We did a good job. We worked all day, and I think we were there from sun up to sundown that day before. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, my feet remember for sure.
Yeah, we got that place looking sharp, got banners hung up, and everything ready to go. And next morning they're beating the door down, sneaking in and buying everything left and right.
Yeah.
And it was cold. It was cold that day, and you had a line of people in front of the door at 7:30 in the morning. Half of the people in t-shirts. I don't know how they were so patient with us, but all these guys, I mean, that created what we have today. That's the Catfish Conference family, the CatCon family. And for those who are not familiar with that, and I think I could speak on your behalf, Steve, this time, but that's what drives us to do the event over and over. It's just because of that, it's a brotherhood. It's people we know and we enjoy, and just see the smile on the face of everybody. It's priceless. It really is priceless.
A lot of fun. Well, while I got a minute here, I want to thank everybody for joining our stream tonight. 284 people in there. That's awesome. Woo. I didn't know I had 284 friends. Thank y'all for coming in. And while I got 288 people in here, I do want to share one little thing, if you don't mind. I got this a little while back, and I can say I was a little bit disappointed, but I am psyched about it as well. But I've got this little package in the mail the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And it is
from
YouTube. And it is the silver play button.
Yes.
Congratulations
to you.
100,000. Now, why I was a little disappointed, because I really wanted that physical silver button that I could throw at somebody. But,
the old school one.
Yeah, the old school one. But I guess I got the new school stuff. But I'm still very proud. It's kind of cool. We're going to hang it up. But I just wanted to share that with everybody. And I couldn't do this without the 100,000 subscribers and plus I got. And hopefully more to come. So hang tight.
Amen, brother.
We got more videos coming. Just got to give me a chance. There's so many catfishing people out there nowadays. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's hard to compete, but it's like you got to put a lot of content out every day, and I can't really do that. But I can put a lot of good stuff out periodically from time to time.
There you go.
It's not about the money for me. It's about the fun. So, but
We
anyway,
got two gentlemen in here over 100K. You got
What is
Steve
that?
and Chris Flores.
Oh, yeah,
in here.
Chris Flores
Two
got
guys
100K
over
too.
100K,
Yeah.
man.
yeah.
Kevin, I haven't checked in a week. I was hoping you were telling me it was me.
One day, my friend.
Well, guys,
I don't know about that.
we've got a really big show for you guys tonight. I hope you stick around. Tim, I hope you can stick around. Patience too. We got people coming in. We got to introduce a few here, but I'm gonna put you back on the mic here just in about 5 minutes if you can. But I want to bring a couple in that's another set of YouTubers. Who we want to bring in first here, Kevin? You're going to help me out. You're the one pushing the button. Who's been waiting the longest, I guess?
Well, one of them went out already, but we're going to bring up 3+1 Outdoors, Larry and Amy. They're missing one of their crew, their son, Cody. But hey, Larry and Amy, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing,
What's up,
Kevin?
guys?
How are you today?
Great.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Happy
Well, thank
birthday,
you.
Steve.
Thank you. Now, you guys are down in my neck of the woods, ain't you? Are you
Yes,
Tennessee?
we are.
Is it Tennessee or Barron River?
Barron River.
Yes,
Barron-
we
that's
live,
what
we live right on Barron River Lake.
I got you. Yeah, you're the gentleman I talked to last week on the lake too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
That was an honor to get to just speak to you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. But I want to bring a few of you guys in that's been helping us and getting the YouTube buzz going in catfishing. If without you guys, I mean, it'd be kind of boring just me and Chris and Luke Nichols making these things. So it's awesome that y'all are being a part of this.
Well, I have to say you were the very first person I watched on YouTube, and I guess you're the main reason we started our channel.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Well, tell everybody what your channel is and where you fish, and we'll start there and ask one more question.
All right. Well, our channel's 3+1 Outdoors. We fish mainly on Barron River Lake because that's where we live, but we do travel, go down, fish Tennessee River some. We've been over in Kevin's neck of the woods and fished. Been several different places. Been blessed to be able to go several different places, and hope to this next year, come spring warm up time, that we get to travel several more places and meet a lot of new people.
Well, good deal. And I had another question here. I got it right down. Where's it at? What? I know you kind of said a little bit. Besides what you said about me, what inspired you to get into the catfishing world?
Well, growing up, I had an uncle that took me fishing all the time, and actually, the day after Christmas, when we seen you out on the water, I got to take him fishing that day, and he had been kind of in bad health, and I hadn't got to take him fishing in a long time, so I got to take him fishing that day, and we had a really good day on the water. So I guess really my love of fishing and outdoors I owe it to him because as a kid, he took me hunting and fishing every time he went.
Well, that's what it takes. You got to take them fishing. You got to take them hunting. They don't know if they're sitting on the couch. So
That's right.
Yeah, and we've got a sack full of grandkids too, and, and most of them are boys. So and we live in the country. We're country as cornbread. So you got to raise them right.
That's right. That's right. Well, Larry and Amy, I appreciate you stopping in my live feed and spending a little time with us.
Yeah, and to all the people in chat, I've put their link in the chat. So if you want to go check them out, they put out high quality content, good family, wholesome content that the whole family can enjoy. You don't have to worry about what your kids are watching. Go check them out, and you know what you do. If you like it, you got to click that button.
That's
And
right.
no offense, but Amy's my favorite.
Oh,
She gets in that camera, and I'll tell you what, she's got a great personality.
Oh, well, thank you. See, I'm gonna have
I
to
love
hug
all
you
the
when I see you.
3+1s, but if I had to choose one, it'd be Amy because she really gets it going.
Hey, I tell you, we couldn't do what we do without her. She's the one that holds it all together here. Does all of our editing for us. She just does it all. So me and Cody get to go have the fun and fish most of the time, and then she takes care of the rest.
She even does the editing.
Yes, she does all the editing.
I gotta have her talk to my wife now. She's gotta call and talk to my wife about the editing because I'm not that lucky.
Well, she does a great job. She does a great job.
Oh,
I've seen
you.
the latest video you posted 3 days ago, and that was real fun to see.
Oh, well,
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm learning. It's an honor to get to do it. So
It's
Well, good
fun.
deal. Well, Larry and Amy, thank you again for stopping in. We're going to move on and talk to
Yes.
Tim a little bit longer and see if he's got some stuff for us. But
all
enjoy.
right. Well,
Thank
thank y'all
you.
for having us.
Thank
Y'all
you
have a
for
good
having
night.
us. Yes. Y'all
All
have a
right. You
blessed
guys
night.
have a good night.
Yes. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. Tim, are
Yes,
you back
sir.
with us? You
You got a couple super chats. You got Muddy River Rod Holders. Said, "Happy birthday, Steve. Can't wait to come down and see you guys again."
thank you, Muddy River Rod Holders.
And then there's Dink Overstink Catfishing a while ago. Said, "Happy birthday, Steve. You are the first person I ever subscribed to. Thanks for getting me into the community."
Oh, it's awesome. Appreciate the
It's a wise man. It's a wise man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll have more people in, and some of them are in the waiting area. We'll definitely go get you guys up there when Steve is ready. So
Yeah.
back to you guys and Tim.
Yeah, we'll talk to Tim another 15, 20 minutes, and we'll bring another couple of minutes. Like I say, I can run this for 2 or 3 hours tonight if you guys want to. It's all just a lot of fun. So
I'm here for the ride, brother.
Here for the ride. All right, Tim. I'm on a schedule, but I got to follow my schedule. So equipment.
That's all right, Steve. Just cut me off because you know I can talk for hours.
Well, let's talk about your equipment. What are you using to chase these big monsters on the Mississippi River? What? Because you showed me a little something a while ago that was pretty cool, but I'll let you explain that.
So I'm not really a gear guy, as I keep explaining. You know, everybody's like, "What are you using? What do you got?" Well, you know, I don't like go out and pet my kid and watch it and take photos. I got friends like that. I got friends that are like, "Oh my God, they got a rod rack that's the crate." You know, I mean, there's $180 rigs and this and that, and it's all so clean. I still have scales from donkey baits on mine. I'm lucky if I even lube the pawl at all, and I don't even know what most of it's called. But what I do is I do put it in my hand. I ask what people think of these rods, and you know, I have a certain amount of specs that I like. I like a softer tip. I like a softer tip for blues. I like actually a faster tip for flatheads and channel cats. But for blues, I want them to take that down, and I want them to be able to bend that first 20% of that rod. And then I want good backbone from there. And that's because, you know, blues are mainly a circle hook thing. And I'm not trying to set the hook normally on blues at all. So that is a deciding factor. And there's so many good rods out there right now. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store. When I go to CatCon, I'm looking at everything. I'm like, oh, you know, so I got tow truck rods. I got, matter of fact, one of my newest ones right here is the Mad Catz Catfish Down. I don't know if you guys can see that, but Aaron sent that to me after my rod got ripped into the water. He felt sorry for me, kind of like Steve did. And he said, "Oh, we can't have that. We can't have you losing rods." And the one I lost was it was a brand new reel, and it was one of those cheap Charlie ones that I got at a bait shop. But it was pretty awesome. I mean, it had a lot of drag. I like 30, 40 pound of drag because of the current that I do. And a lot of them are only 20, 25 pound, but don't quote me because I'm not really a gear guy, but I'm just kind of guessing here. 30, 40 pounds of drag and stuff like that. But I do want a stout handle. I want it to be fairly, you know, for blues, and that's what we're talking about. I like it to be fairly thick here. But most of my stuff is like 25, 30 years old. Well, I wouldn't say 30, probably 20 to 25 years old. Because I was using stuff that it was really dumb. It was like taking trying to fend off an elephant with a switch. It just doesn't work. So now I've got, which everybody that watches my lives and stuff is pretty familiar with this. I got a tow truck rod. It's not real long, but I've got some rip and lip. I've got a smattering of everything, and I kind of use it in different situations because, like these shorter rods, because I think this one's only what is this one? This is only 7 foot instead of 7'6", so I use it as a down rod closer up to where the steering column is, because I when fish are moving underneath the boat, I need to present some stuff to them instead of just the stuff that's way back, and it really pays off. And it paid off last year in a live. A couple of times we had some down rods go off, and sometimes the down rods are the biggest, the big fish catchers, because those big blues are highly mobile sometimes, and when they're mobile, you got to get something up off the bite. If you're throwing it way out, and so I got to use giant donkey weights like this. I mean, this thing's like a coffee can. I mean,
what's that, 2 pounds?
What's that?
Is that 2 pounds? Is that a 2-pounder?
And this one here it's close to 2 pounds. I'll tell you what, it probably if you dropped it hard enough, it'd probably smash the end of your toe off. I'm sure.
I bet.
If you wasn't wearing shoes. But what I was showing Steve was I've been working on my lights, and my lights now, instead of just the here, and I'll have to shut some lights off so you can see this. But look at that deal here. I mean,
whoa.
And now it's and I don't know if I may have to turn the light. I'll turn the lights back on. Because the problem was I took the lights and I just put them on bare, and I scotch taped them to it for last year because I got them kind of late. And so now I've got all the nice heat shrink wrap on it, like this, so that this whole thing doesn't get wet, because they're not really meant for outdoors. But now, and then I've got all the lights encased in this plastic tubing, and then the end is also basically heat shrink wrapped so that water can't get into it. So I'm thinking this stuff is going to last a long time. And man, does it look! I love it in the lives, and I also love it for when I'm in a light sensitive situation, because really, we used to use glow sticks, and sometimes they work and sometimes they didn't. But this works every time, and I don't have to spend 12 hours painting a rod like Chunky, because honestly, I don't have the time for that. But I think his is even, I mean, in a different way, it's very, very cool. But this one, I can just rig these things up and zip tie them to the rod, and I'm good. So that's one thing I've been working on. And all of us catfishermen are tinkerers. We all are. We love it, don't we? We've always had to make things because you couldn't find it. But now you're starting to find some things, and people have choices. And I think it's a great thing. Yeah. But hooks and sinkers and this and that. I mean, I'm still making stuff because I love to make it. But if I can find
that's the way most of the catfishermen have had to been, myself included. I mean, first rod holders I made myself off, and it's just rudimentary as heck, but it worked. But yeah, and I told Chris a couple years ago, we was down in Texas, and I said, you need to, people love to tinker. They need to do stuff with their hand. The first thing most people do when they get in this business is that they want to build a bait tank. I did the same thing myself. That's the first thing you want to do, is build something, make something. So that
Steve, I think I built 30 bait tanks, and I'm about ready to build another one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's a lot of good bait tanks out there, but some of them's too big, some of them's too heavy, some of them's too noisy. I don't know what the perfect one is. But,
I'm starting to get it dialed in. I think I got the perfect one, except because it's going to have, where I live, it's going to have a heater. It's going to have a cooling system in the summer, and then a heater in the winter, because I've got probably 6 donkey carp out in my tank right now that are frozen like a popsicle. I got 300 gallons of water. I mean, it's like an iceberg.
Yeah. Well, I know Chris Flores has a tank, or he used to have a tank out by his house that he kept them big old donkey baits in too.
I don't know if you remember that time I was telling you, Steve, I had that 300-gallon tank and I had a filter system on it, and of course the spray, so I'd get the oxygen going. And I had taken off to Catfish Conference, and Fran calls me up and she says, "Hey, the bait tank's not working." And I said, "Oh, I know what it is. I'm trying to give her directions on how to fix it, and she can't get it fixed." And I finally tell her, "You know what? Just forget it. I don't care." I had about 30 or 40 carp in there, probably pound a piece,
Uh-huh.
And I said, "I'll just deal with a bunch of dead fish when I get back from Catfish Conference." And so went to the conference, did my thing, came back, got in work mode, I got to, get back in my construction thing. I think about 3 months went by before I remembered that tank.
Oh.
And I said, "Oh man,
oh no! I think I
it's
saw
gonna
that
be
video.
horrible." So I go and I look in there, and the water's black. I mean, it is just nasty looking.
You probably
So
had 2 bluegill in there that still lived, I bet you.
I had 20 carp that were just fine hanging out.
Oh, really?
20 carp.
Oh, no.
Oh,
They lived through it, huh?
Oh yeah, they were just fine hanging out, fat and happy. I don't know. I don't know what they were eating, but there was 20 of them left just hanging out. Hey, speaking of tinkering.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found a relic from the old school Muddy River videos, but before I show it to you guys, I got a question for Tim. This is kind of one of those things, like you were saying, out of necessity, you know, as a catfisherman, you start to build things that you need on the spot, right? So
Yeah.
Tim, my question for you, do you think flatheads are territorial as fishermen say they are?
Even more so. Even
Okay.
more so. They are, and let me get this correct, and I don't want to let people have this idea that flatheads are territorial all year round, because they're not. They're actually quite placid towards each other, and that means kind of friendly. I'm not saying they're going to bring each other cookies. All I'm saying is they don't mind each other in the cold water period, but once that water gets above 60, 65, 70, then it's war. It is wartime, because they are masters of their environment, and their whole evolution has come to be masters of real estate, so that they don't have to work that hard. If they can control an area, a tree, a stump, a log, a ledge, against other flatheads, then they own it all. They own the right to breed. They own the right to, have food come to them easily. But if they start getting crowded, then it just goes against their whole nature. So yeah, they're even more. And there's no mistake that the good Lord made flatheads so that they could heal within just a few days. I mean, anybody that's a flathead fisherman knows they have caught flatheads with some of the worst scars and the worst cuts and the worst everything. But I've taken them home to my tanks because I've seen this stuff, and it heals within 2 or 3 days. They have a great immune system, and it's part of that slime coat that's really thick. You ever stare right into the slime coat on a flathead? Seems like it's like this thick, and it actually is. They have the thickest slime coat, and there are antibacterial properties to it, just like they claim sharks have.
Well, Chris, what was your surprise, your old school thing? Let's check that out.
All right, so as you guys know, I always jump in my river whenever I get a chance. And so one of the things that I started doing way back in the day, just for my own research, is I would they shut the Rio Grande River off every year to conserve water. So my Muddy River actually starts to run clear. you can see quite well once that river shuts off, because the sand and the mud settle down and the water turns clear. So what I'll do is I'll go to these holes, and some of these holes are 6, 8, 10 foot deep, and I'll just dive in there with a pair of goggles on and just study, look, observe, and see what's going on, so I can understand what these fish are doing, where they're going to be, and how to target them better, right? So I went one time in particular. I actually have a video on some of this stuff, and I dove in. There was this fallen tree, and I dove into the tree, and I just see these flatheads just stacked in there, and they're laying in there from the bottom all the way up to like 2 inches from the top, just sitting in these branches. And I was so fascinated by it, and I would even mess with them. You know, I'd try to pet them a little bit and see what they do, and they were pretty set on staying where they were at. And they'd back up a little bit, and then they'd come back, and then they you know, and then finally they get frustrated and they'd leave, they'd split. But I'd come back about a half hour later, and he's right back in his spot. And so I wanted to get this on video. Well, I didn't have at the time a waterproof camera, GoPro, nothing. So I'm thinking, how can I use my camera to film this stuff? So I went home and I made
I think I remember
right here. You remember this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Who remembers that?
Yeah.
I said, I gotta figure out how to get my camera underwater. So this thing is it's a jar. And I took this glove,
I love it.
attached it with a toilet flange and some gasket sealer, so I could operate my camera inside this waterproof jar right here.
That was
before
Yeah,
waterproof
you put it on.
GoPros and stuff.
And then
that you before your time, Chris.
you could take pictures, and hit the record button, all that good stuff.
That was awesome.
It kind of looks like you stole that from a lab somewhere.
It looks like it, right? I was cleaning
That's
out
what
my garage the other day, and I found that.
That's what they're using to make vaccines with now.
It kind of gives me a
Did you
big
see that,
idea
Tim, or
here,
did you
Chris.
walk off?
I think we should build for Chris like a life size or something like it's really big enough where we can put the whole Chris inside the jar, put Chris in the water for a couple of days, and get the result of the video. It's like
Chris, you got to bring that to CatCon, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what?
that's
And I even made. I was trying to find that. That's why I went off screen a little while ago. I made a little tripod for it. It's I took some 1/2-inch copper and I bent it, and I put some suction cups in it with the little 1/4-inch screw, and it would suction cup to the walls, and my camera would attach to that little tripod, and it would be fixed in there, and then I could work it. But yeah, I built this thing, and then I went back to that spot that I was telling you about, and I dove in so I could film these flatheads just hanging out.
Hey, Chris, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we were at Kansas City, I asked you a couple of questions and you didn't even answer.
I must have missed it.
Well,
Because you were on the front of Palmetto's car.
Yeah, Chris was not really responsive there. Somehow he was really silent all the time.
comatose.
He had a lot of
hugs.
hugs.
He
was
was
just
more
all
talkative
ears.
today, though.
All right, we got 310 folks in here, guys. I appreciate all the happy birthdays everybody's gave me, and appreciate everybody in here. I see we got another customer.
Yeah, we got Creole Catfishing. He's been waiting for a little while. I'm gonna bring him up.
All right, bring him on
Mr.
up.
Jeremy Dufour. What's going on, Jeremy?
Hello, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Looks like you got a crew there.
Hello. Hey, tell us about your channel and what you got going on with the YouTube.
Well, of course, the channel name is Creole Catfishing. We fish the what we locals call the Three Rivers area of Louisiana, which is the Mississippi, Atchafalaya, and Red Rivers, where they all come together into one. Main focus is trophy catfishing, but we try to show everybody what Louisiana is about. you know, the cooking, the culture, you know, try
Right.
a little bit of a variety, a little bit of everything.
Well, Austin, I've seen you catch some pretty good fish out of that Red River. Don't it have some big blues in it?
It does. We've got some really big blues. We've got some big yellow cat, which is what everybody else calls flatheads.
Right.
But little bitty channel cat. That's the only thing we don't have is the big channel cats.
Well, I don't think too many people's got them big channel cats. I think they're all up north.
That's right.
Us southern guys, we just got to stick with them big blues.
Yeah, we just have to settle for triple digit blues, now don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen a few more guys in here saying happy birthday. Thank you for everybody. Well, Creole, we see you don't fish alone all the time. You've got your family you fish with
That's
as well, right? Who was the gentleman in the back behind you there just a second ago?
That was my youngest son, Caleb. He's fixing to be 9 years old. He comes with us sometimes. My wife fishes with me. My dad, my brother. I've got a few of my friends come with me on occasion. I'm never alone. There's always a family member of some kind with me.
Right. Well, what
Gabe, his oldest son, or one of his older sons, was
right.
nominated for the Youth Angler of the Year for the Golden Whiskers.
Ah, okay.
That's right. Best Joey in the business.
There you go. What? Tell us what. Tell us what inspired you to start your YouTube channel.
Well, I started trophy catfishing about a year or two before YouTube, and of course, I went to YouTube to try to better myself, to try to improve, try to catch big fish. And actually, the first YouTube video on catfishing I ever saw was one of yours, Mr. Steve, the one you used massive pieces of cut bait to catch big flatheads. So say after that, I was hooked. I got down the wormhole of YouTube, and I noticed that I was seeing people from all different states, all different areas, all different bodies of water, except one. Louisiana. I didn't see anybody from Louisiana doing catfishing. So after a while, I said, well, where is everybody from Louisiana? We've got big fish here too. So I decided, well, if nobody's representing Louisiana, I'm going to represent Louisiana.
Here we go.
Started the YouTube and been rolling it since then.
How many subscribers you got right now?
I checked it this morning. I think I'm at 868.
So you need a few more subscribers then, don't you?
I would appreciate a few more subscribers. I really would.
Well, guys, if anybody in the live here, check him out. He's in Louisiana. He fishes some pretty gnarly stuff I've seen.
Yes,
he catches some good fish. So
yeah, and I just put his link in the chat, so y'all go check him out. I know you're gonna love it. So when you figure out you love it, hit that subscribe button and check him out.
And we try to make good content for everybody. Try to keep it family friendly for everyone. And we've got some new adventures that we're gonna try to do this year. That's specific to Louisiana that I don't think many other people have the opportunity to do. Not going to give that away just yet, but hopefully cool things to come.
You know what I've been wanting to do for a long time is fish with crawdads. And I know Louisiana is full of crawdads, but have you ever used those crawdads to catch fish down there?
Yes, sir. I actually grew up. One of the fishing we did growing up was bank fishing for what we call goo, freshwater drum. We eat those down here. It's a great fish. And that was one of the main baits we'd use to catch them is big live crawfish. And we would also catch the occasional yellow cat on those live crawfish.
Ah, okay.
So we would use those a lot. Go in the ditch on the side of the road, dip net some crawfish on the way to the fishing spot.
I wish it was that easy all the time, but I'd love it if you could do that. I got to drive 400 miles and then launch my boat and then drive up some pretty rough water and then cast for 1,000 times to catch 3 skipjack.
Wow.
So now sometimes I go up there and catch 100 skipjack in 10 minutes too. So
I understand that struggle. We have, we call them slicker, but we have skipjack here too. And same thing. So it's either feast or famine as far as they're concerned.
Well, good deal. Well, I appreciate you stopping by today and spending a little time with us. We're going to probably move on.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yep. And like I say, guys, if you want to look for somebody catches some good catfish and has some good content down in Louisiana, And you don't even have to be from Louisiana to watch this man. He'll show you some fish, no matter where you're from. But appreciate you stopping in.
I appreciate you, Mr. Steve. Thank you, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, man.
All right, Tim. Let's see what we got next for you. Hervey, you gonna stick around with us for a little while, ain't you?
Just for a moment.
Well, we had rock bottom cats in there. I was gonna bring him on while you was in here, but
oh, that's a good idea.
He's ready to go. He's just got to pop back in. He didn't want his camera to overheat.
Oh, okay. And Everett, if you seeing this, we're gonna bring you right in here just in a second.
Here he is. Here's rock bottom. Hey, Austin. How you doing, man?
Rock
hey guys, how are y'all?
Doing good, man.
Austin, I don't know that I've ever met you before, but I am Steve Douglas. Nice to meet you. I know
nice to meet you too. Happy birthday, by the way. I've watched you for a long time.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Dieter Melhorn, I see you in here, buddy. But yeah, you've been conversing more with Hervey with the CatCon crew, and I haven't had a chance to visit with you, but tell us about your channel and what you doing with it.
Well, I do a lot of bank fishing, a lot of kayak fishing, and a little bit of boat fishing. And it all kind of just started with bank fishing and using the kayak to get to some spots. And then I kind of branched over into a little bit more kayak fishing and kind of building from there. I don't have it's kind of rolling with it right now, and it's starting to grow a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I know you've got some great content. And how many subscribers do you have at the moment?
I just broke 1,000 back at Christmas, thanks to Kevin. He helped.
Congratulations.
One thanks to me, man. Thanks to all your awesome content, dude.
Thanks for your content.
I will say if I can that Austin and a couple others on the CatCon crew have really helped push that the Catfish Conference YouTube page, and it has grown massively. And I've seen through the comments on Austin's videos and others' videos that people are really enjoying the content they're making. And Austin, Rock Bottom Cats, he's created several videos that are just unmatched in quality and information. And I just want to say thank you for him for working so hard to do that.
Yeah, he's got a great camera. I'd love to know what kind of camera he's got, but he's got some great content. And I guess we got to thank our man Hervey up there for that. He's the one who found that talent for sure. I didn't know nothing about Mr. Austin.
Well, Steve, thank you, but I'm going to have to pass your comment to Kevin because Kevin and Austin were the actual true heroes in the story. I did not do anything in here. and I mean, by the way, Austin, I mean, I told you many times already, but these guys' videos are absolutely awesome. When you watch them, it's pure entertainment. It's educational, but it's entertainment at the same time. You see such a quality of image. I mean, you have the impression of being there in your living room or wherever you're looking at that video. It's just phenomenal. And the type of content is so unique. It's so diverse. And you know, just it's so detailed. I mean, it's a full immersive experience. And for that, I'm just going to speak for myself here, but thank you so much for all the work you've done, you know, to help the channel, to help Catfish Conference, and just, you know, help the community through us. It's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that. It's an honor to be part of it, honestly.
How long have you been doing your videos now, Austin?
I created the channel, I think, towards the end of 2019. I didn't really start posting until the very end of that year, the start of, I guess, 2020. Though.
Mm-hmm. And you're mainly just catfish. You don't go off to any other genre of fish.
Not on video. I'll go out and fish for some crappie or trout or something if I'm in the mountains, but I don't really film any of it.
You got the Figars too, no?
What is it, Hervey?
Well, that's back.
That's a southern thing.
I don't try to catch them things.
Yeah, those long-nosed gar are pretty pesky around. All right, you got a big super chat there, Steve, from Fracture Fix. He said for bringing in a North Carolina boy, and he's referring to Austin.
Well, thank you. I didn't know Austin was from North Carolina. I thought he was from Virginia. Well,
I'm smack dab in the middle of North Carolina.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Fracture Fix.
Fracture Fix.
Yep. Thank you so much. Yep. We're enjoying our CatCon crew. So we like I say, we appreciate you, Austin, and we hopefully, if you guys like any good content with the kayaks and such, you could go to Austin's page and give him a like and a subscribe. Like I say, the content, I wish I had the time to do it, but I'd have to go to school to learn this again. I do very good with this drag and drop stuff, but his editing, everything is just like dead on. Perfect.
Appreciate that.
It's art over there. It's art. It's great.
But, well, Austin, I appreciate you stopping in. Is there anything you'd like to tell the folks while you're with us here?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Happy birthday again, and I'll see all you guys next month. So hopefully I get to meet a bunch of folks. I'll be at the Catfish Conference on both days. So looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
And just since he mentioned that, we have a YouTube booth at Catfish Conference, and that's a place where you could put your merch up there and sell a few shirts or hats, or if you want to come meet everybody in YouTube community. I know there's a lot of them coming, and if you want to interview people, there's going to be a booth for you there, in addition to the Fisherman Swap Shop, which I know we'll get to a little later.
Yeah. And for any of them YouTubers out there, if you want to do a small video for the Catfish Conference, I kind of think if you get that done for us and spread it out to everybody, we would probably give you some free tickets, wouldn't we, Hervé?
Ooh.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So,
That's right. And we're going to help share some content. We're working on something cool.
Yeah. So there we go.
This time we promise we won't put the axe throwing booth right next to the YouTube booth.
Right.
I heard about that.
Dieter in the chat over here, he must remember that one.
Yeah, he done. But well, Dieter, I don't know if I told you this, Ray, because you've been MIA for a minute. But Dieter, I did talk Dieter into doing a video for us on the Catfish Conference.
He posted it. It was really good.
Yeah, he posted. Thank you again, Dieter. And I do have you a special spot in the back bathroom back there. Oh, no, I got you a good spot, Dieter. I wouldn't do you like that. I got you a real good clean spot.
I did want to mention earlier, you got a super chat from Uncle Lou, Lee Reed. I posted it up on the screen, but I can't go back far enough in the chat to post it again. But he gave you $9.99, said happy birthday.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Guys, you don't have to. That's not what I'm looking for. I just in here having some fun and spreading some joy. That's all I want to do. Well, Austin, I appreciate you stopping in, man. If you need anything, give us a call and stay in touch. And we'd look forward to seeing you at the Catfish Conference.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you guys next month.
All right. Hey, if you guys check him out, subscribe to him. Did you put a link in that, Kevin? For everybody?
Links in the description. Links not in the description. It's in the chat.
In the chat. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Perfect.
I'll put it in there one more time.
All right.
Oh, Dieter wants to be next to the axe throwing booth. Perhaps we should, step it up. We should put him in the axe throwing booth. With the GoPros and everything. That could be really cool to see an axe coming slow-mo, just like.
Maybe a dunking booth for Dieter. Look at that.
Kevin, if you I can't do it because I don't know how I'm not that smart, but if you could share the link with Dieter, we'll let Dieter come in here if he would like to. But we need to get Everett. I'm almost with you, buddy. Hang tight. I got to get back to Tim.
He's chilling down there.
Yeah. Hang tight. Well, Tim, we're gonna get back to you real quick. Anybody else in this low row over here have anything to say before I get Tim going again? Kevin, Hervé, or Chris?
We're good. Let's get at it, Tim. What you got?
Just enjoying the show.
And I'm not used to listening this much in a live. Usually I'm doing all
he really isn't.
Hey, don't worry. I got a long list of stuff to talk to you about, but we're going to do some other stuff too.
So first off, let me say Rock Bottom Cats, if he looks back in his subscriber list, I was pretty early. I understood the passion that he's got. He's fishing out of kayaks. He's fishing in a cool area that I don't get to see. So I subscribe to him, and I watch his stuff pretty awesome. Pretty often. And then Jeremy Dufour. Let me mention something about your guest, Jeremy. I met
Who's
Jeremy when he first kind of came on the scene.
Creole catfishing.
Creole, okay.
Creole, yeah. And so we got to talking in chat, and I was impressed with his knowledge of hydrodynamics, which means how the water flows. I was impressed with his intellect as far as being able to talk. And we talked on the phone probably from 1 o'clock in the morning till almost 6 a.m. And it was pretty cool. And I'm especially interested in Jeremy's area because I know that there's some giants that frequent that area down there. And him, I get to thinking something and I'll call him. He gets to thinking something, he'll call me. And so, unfortunately, Jeremy gets only 1 day a week to fish, and I get less than that. So, if you could have just miracled ourselves back to like 25 years ago, you'd be seeing some really cool stuff. But we can talk about it and have a good time.
Yeah. Jeremy's a good guy. Well, we're gonna move on down with some more topics. Again, I thank you all for the birthday wishes. I appreciate everybody coming in and the support that you guys are giving us tonight. We got 288 people in here. It's fluctuating a lot, but we're keeping a lot of attention, I hope. That's the main thing. But Tim, my next topic with you is baits and your donkey baits. Where did you get the donkey at? And let's hear this story. I know what a donkey bait is.
Right.
Apparently, it's a huge bait.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me the story.
It's been 15, 20 years ago. And a friend of mine by the name of Aaron Gibbons, he appeared in one of my videos. He's actually from Ohio, and it takes him a long time to get here. But I'd known him since the Pro Cats days, and he was young. and he would call me every day. Hey, what do you think these fish are doing? What all this stuff, and I would answer my phone. I'd be working or doing whatever. And so I'd be like, Aaron, just focus. Come on, just focus. This is what big fish are doing, blah, blah, blah. And, he was ate up with it. And we're still great friends today. And he came over and fished the Mississippi. And we went from Keokuk, and there was a rainstorm there. And then we drove like 1,000 miles in a weekend. And it culminated at like 3:30 in the morning. The last piece of soggy moon eye we had like that. And he lands an 80-pounder. And he went absolutely ballistic. Ballistic. He's like he's a teacher, and he played D1 football, but he's like a normal shaped human. You don't even notice it until I like saw it in my video. And he like grabbed me on the shoulders like this Jolly Green Giant, and he almost cried. And you know what? That's kind of close to my heart. If I can bring, and he tries hard, but he's on like the upper Ohio where they don't really have a bunch of 80s. He walked, and I can tell you a million stories, but this is the kind of guy that would carry 10 gallons of water in all of his gear, 3 miles through the woods to the Great Miami River, and and try to catch flatheads and all this stuff. So it was really kind of a pleasure. But he introduced me to the Indiana guys, and some of the Indiana guys, the Indiana, Ohio, they would talk and they would say, "We got some giant suckers. Look at these donkeys." And I cabbaged right on to it. And I said, that's what it is. It's donkey bait time. Because, there isn't a descriptive word, really. You could say huge baits or whatever, but nothing's really that exciting. And so I kind of cabbaged on.
What's going to qualify? What's going to qualify donkeyness?
Donkey.
What's going to
donkeyness?
It's got to be like this big around.
Okay.
It's got to be like, two, just meet the thumb and the middle finger. To be a donkey, it's got to be like that big, almost like the size of a softball. Now,
5 pounds.
The fish itself has got to be like, 18 inches to 2 foot long, sometimes a little bit longer than that. And so if it's going to be a donkey, it's got to be a carp, an Asian carp. And you know what? You can have donkey skipjack, even though we don't. If you got a big 2-3 pound skipjack, that's a donkey.
That's
So-
my size right there. That's what I
That's
throw.
right. That's right. And it's all about separating the little ones from the big ones, because really I've caught a lot of big fish on little baits. I mean, baits that are only the head or half this size. But when you have, if you're set up and you're dealing with a lot of fish because they're able to eat that and take up your time, that's what I say, okay, it's time to throw some donkey baits. Now, I don't always do it, especially in the spring, especially in the colder water period, but in that hot water period, yeah, I want a bait that's going to focus. And I have a theory, even though I can't prove it. Because unlike Chris Flores, I cannot swim to 45, 50 foot of water and put like a jug over my head so I can walk.
You have this, Tim.
If I could put a jug over my head, yeah, that's exactly right. 45, 50. I honestly believe that smaller fish are more aggressive. Now, follow me this. Not all the time, but I think big fish are careful creatures, because it's a rare thing to see, and I'm not going to hack on the bumping guys, but it is a rare thing to see 70s, 80s caught with any sort of consistency bumping, because it's a fast movement. It's boom, 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 boom. And it doesn't seem like that a truly giant fish is going to reactionary bite that much. They seem to be careful. Most of my giant fish come within 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. I know they're there because I've thrown it in their face. I know exactly how I've triangulated that thing, because I got the weights and I got the whatever, it's the ledge. I know they're there. Usually takes between 5 and 15 minutes. But the problem is, those big fish are going to wait. There's also smaller fish that'll run up ahead of them, because blues are not really aggressive towards each other. How many blues do you find with too many bite marks on the blue, the small blues, the big blues? You just don't see it. So I think these are like coming into the scene. They're smelling the thing and they're getting it first. So I need something that this fish can eat a donkey bait. Trust me, they can open their mouth huge, but it's going to take them some work. And I really think that the competition, and I may be overthinking this a little bit because that's what I do. So I'm overthinking it scientifically, but whatever. So this fish is coming in, it's trying, it's bumping it, it's doing whatever, until the big fish finally just says, you know what, I'm going to eat that. So that's why I have.
Can you use those big baits dragging as fishing with Billy?
No, No, I really don't. If I'm dragging, I don't use gigantic. I mean, yeah, I do, but I don't have much success with it. Gotcha. I've got one in my here. I'll just bring it out.
Well, yeah, I've caught big baits dragging, or I've caught big fish dragging big baits. Now in the Mississippi where there's current, you're not gonna be able to drag anyway. But yeah, you drag them big baits down on a flat down the Tennessee River, see what happens.
Well, one thing about the Mississippi is where I'm at, I don't do a lot of dragging because it's really pretty snaggy. But when I do, I might be dragging a bait like this, and sometimes I'll get it back.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, where it's bit like this, and maybe they'll get this back hook.
Is that frozen?
What's that?
Is that a frozen piece of carp or something?
No, this is actually a pacu from South America that we had in my tank, and it actually died. So I am going to catch a giant fish on this. His name was Fred. So Fred is going to catch me in the afterlife a gigantic. Yeah,
I got you.
Super monster.
Got a big boom here from Becca Mudtramp, $77.77. She said, "Happy birthday, Mr. Steve. Hope it's been and continues to be full of lots of smiles and laughter."
Thank you so much.
Before I put this away, this bait is so big. I've got a 16-aught circle hook right there.
Woo. Goodness gracious, man.
Yeah. Now, do I have a lot of confidence in it? No, because it's been frozen. I mean, I don't love frozen bait. I like good fresh bait. But you know what? I'm going to throw it out, and I'm going to throw it out in a likely spot that I might be able to contact a monster. Now, maybe the monster doesn't eat it, and maybe he eats the down rod bait or whatever. And
hey, you're not necessarily you're not matching the hatch on that one, buddy.
Hey, let me
blue cats eat baits bigger than this, believe that or not. And
let me caution you a minute there, Tim. Let me caution you a minute. Let me tell you this little story. There's this, I don't know if it's a YouTuber or what, but this has been about 5 or 6 years ago. There was a fella that bought an octopus or a squid or something online, and I guess he was going to take some film or something of it, and they found it. I guess he left it down at the Falls of the Ohio.
I heard that.
And they found that, and they found the guy that did it, and they arrested him. Somehow you're not supposed to put that kind of stuff in the water or something. I don't know. And even though it was a squid or something, I don't think he's supposed to. For some reason, he got a fine for that, for leaving that squid on the rocks down there. So be careful with that South American fish.
Okay.
Just don't leave it on a rock.
Believe me, I've used pretty much everything that walks or crawls at one time or another. Everybody in chat has heard me say that before, and the list is as long as your leg, from animals to moles to voles to rabbits to bats to birds and everything else. All in just trying to figure out if there was a real bait thing, if there was a if baby birds work better than mice, moles, voles, chubs, whatever. But really, what I found out is location's the best bait. And if you have to in your waters eliminate fish so that you can try to catch bigger ones, if that's your proclivity, you could do that. But generally speaking, as long as you're putting a decent, adequate bait in their face, and it doesn't matter if it's, like you said, squid, octopus, doesn't matter if it's chubs, doesn't matter if it's shad, doesn't matter if it's whatever it is, as long as you're putting it in their travel zone or in their face or where they're going to come to, you're way better off than worrying about bait.
Yeah.
Marshmallow chicken hot dog, with green jello on it. Well, I don't really believe in that. What I believe in is if it has the right amino acids, it's got the right scent, it's got the right flavor, and if the fish is active enough, then and that's kind of the key. If the fish is active enough, they'll eat almost anything. I've caught giant channel cats on my bologna sandwich that was in my cooler just to prove a point. I'm like, look at this. Ball that up, do you need shad right now? No, because they're just burying the rods. But once they start to peck, then forget the bologna sandwich, forget the hot dogs, forget all this. They want that natural bait. So it's going to be up to the individual angler what they want to do.
I've heard that hot dogs dipped in Kool-Aid work pretty good.
That's a Dieter Melhorn thing.
Sure. But
he just said
the hot dogs.
No, he just said catfish don't eat birds. Don't be absurd.
They do eat birds. I've caught many a catfish on birds.
He's talking about chicken.
Oh, yeah, and chicken too. I mean, but am I going to seriously opt for chicken? No. But if that's all I had, I'd throw chicken if I had to. I've thrown it before, and they didn't like it. I mean, we were on a pound town bite. I mean, we were catching 20, 30, 40, 50-pound blues on every single rod that was out. It was everywhere. I threw
I can't imagine that.
I threw an entire chicken breast with the skin still on it. They pecked it. I threw a leg. They pecked it. I threw a wing. And they pecked it. But they were eating quillback sucker ribs which is like way down my list on good baits. They were eating that like it was going out of style. But now that's where I fish. That doesn't mean that you can't get onto a chicken bite somewhere because people have proved it.
Right. Well, the catfish will bite on anything. It's just the catfish's mood. You find some crazy things in your live well when you get done catfishing. And the craziest thing I guess I found is a deer hoof. No, the craziest thing I found was the bottom of an aluminum can that had been dyed inside. It was an old, you can tell it was been around for a while. But anyway, guys, here we are. We got 312 people in the chat. I appreciate all
Steve, Steve, I got something short that everybody loved off my last live, and there's probably 3 times the amount of people here because it's a big question. So I was asked in my last live, okay, what do you do if these fish are belly to the bottom? Okay, because everybody that's a catfisherman in here, one day you go out and you can mark all kinds of catfish. The next day you can't mark a darn thing. I mean, if you could ask everybody to raise their hand, almost everybody raised their hand. So I kind of drew, I drew my little thing here. I just want to get this quick information in. So if this is your finder, and you go into an area that you normally catch catfish in, okay, and one day you've got fish like this and like this, and that's normally how it is. And then all of a sudden you go and it looks like this. There's only one way to really know, especially with newer fish finders that we have now. Now, the old style, arcade game style that we used to have, it looked like Space Invaders. The only way I would know is you'd have these little bumps like this on the bottom, and they look like rocks. Now, if you've never fished it before, you don't know if they're rocks or fish or logs or whatever. But if you know and if you fish that before and you know that it doesn't have a whole bunch of terrible stuff, you can go like logs and sticks and whatever else. You can see that these little bumps right there are fish. And one thing that they have that they tell me is that if they're belly to the bottom, that means that they're not very active. I want to see fish like this that are head down and tail up. If you guys can see this, sorry about that. This is what I want to see. And with our newer stuff, you want to see, let me see if I can get this. You want to see an aura, and I don't have a blue one, but usually I want to see red in here like this. And then I want to see that blue aura, which we're going to substitute for green. So on here, if you can see that blue around here, and then the red on the inside, you can be pretty confident that that's going to be fish.
Now, otherwise, I would like to kind of help you out on that if I can a little bit, because I know the hummingbirds, and I know the hummingbirds and the Lowrances are all different on the colors, because you're saying the colors there.
True.
I don't have in some of mine, but I do know that so when you're explaining that, I guess people need to understand. You're talking about the what am I calling the return, right? That whether it's hard or
whether it's hard or not. And mine's set. It's got a blue aura, and then it's got some usually yellow around that, and then if it's a bigger fish, it'll be red on the interior.
Yeah. Well, I think just so people know that those colors may not work on the hummingbird. I don't know what colors. Exactly. And it really depends on what you have your hummingbird and Lowrance set on as well too. Because you can choose all the colors. So
absolutely. But I was just using it as an example.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
What I look for, and I do have a hummingbird. But as long as there's some color involved, you can usually, kind of guess that there's going to be some fish, but they're belly to the bottom. Now, what do we do about that? What we do about that is we try to put the bait in their face. In other words, I'll try to cast to them, try to remember where I marked them, try to cast to them, and then if they don't bite in 10, 15 minutes, because they're probably not going to get up and move to my baits, I'm going to have to start pulling those baits along the bottom to get it within their strike zone, which may be really short, not 3, 4, 5 feet. They may be unwilling to get up and move, but as long as I can kind of carpet bomb that area and start dragging stuff around, maybe I'll skip one in front of a big fish. And so, I think that would help a lot of people.
Awesome. That's a good tip. Well, guys, we got 315 people in here. I appreciate everybody hanging in. I hope I'm doing a good decent job. I hope everybody, my whole team's doing a good job for you guys tonight, because that's what it's taking, a whole team to make me look good. So appreciate you, Kevin, and everybody that's helping. So, but I think we have would like to bring in another special guest if we can, another YouTuber, Mr. Everett Mathis. If you guys got a minute, let's spend some time with Everett and see what he's got.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hey, Everett, how are you doing?
All right, all right. How are everybody in there? How y'all doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing good.
Great. Everett, tell us a little bit about your channel and when you started it. I know you're not kind of new, but you've been plugging at it for 3 or 4 years now, haven't you?
No, actually, it'll be 7 years going on May.
Really?
In May. Yeah, it's going on.
You just reached 10,000 subscribers too, didn't you?
Yes, I have.
Well, congratulations on that. Well, tell everybody what your channel is, first off.
Well, a lot of fishing TV is based on fishing a lot, just grinding. But, the main species is the catfish. The catfish is pretty much the reason why I'm even doing this. I mean, yes, I go out and target, white bass, white perch, yellow perch, and all that good stuff just for a little fun content. But the channel Catfish is probably the reason why a lot of fishing TV has been, just sticking to it.
So tell me what inspired you to start your YouTube channel.
Well, the truth is, and this I'm glad you asking this, because people just don't know. I started fishing. I'm 31. I'll be 32 in February. I started fishing when I was 24. And I didn't know anything. I ran an errand for my uncle for his daughter, and her husband was out fishing at a little pond. He asked me if I wanted to try, and from there I've been stuck. And I decided in 2015 that I was just going to start a channel once I learned at least the basics.
Right. So now you've got your channel. What's your hopes for your channel? What are you looking to do with that in the future?
I think I'm not really worried about the end results, and I say this a lot. I'm just worried about enjoying life right now.
That is the whole. That's it, ain't it?
Yeah, that fishing is. I mean, it's my passion. I'm going to pursue what I want, and I'm not really worried about how long it will take. Whatever the end results may be, I just know that I'm just trying to live life and have a good time.
Have fun. That's it.
Yes,
that's right. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad that you guys are building your channel up like it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fishing. How you spell that? Can anybody help me out with a link in there?
Yeah, there's a link in there. It's
okay.
ALOF space TV, and then he's got in quotations a lot of fishing. So I put the link in the chat, everybody. You can check it out.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, Everett, I know we've been friends on Facebook for a couple of years. You always visit the Captain Madjax, and I appreciate you doing that. And for any of you guys in YouTube world here that don't know what Captain Madjax is, it's a tournament that I put on every year. It's kind of like a grassroots tournament for, startup teams and pro teams alike. So it's just something to spread the good news of catfishing. So, but anyway, Everett has really supported me in all that. I think he actually carried a bunch of fish down for me one time. Did some work for me. So appreciate
that's some work. That's some hard work.
Yeah. But you got to handle all the big fish and put them all back and revive them and all that. So
that motivates you, honestly.
Yeah.
When if you somebody who don't like, I mean, I've caught my 30 plus pounds. I've caught 20 plus pound blues. I've caught 15 plus pound channel cats. But just taking, just CPR and a 60-pound flat blue or something like that just drives you nuts. You're like, oh my goodness, this could have been my fish, So
yeah, exactly.
It's definitely motivational.
Well, awesome. And you coming to the Catfish Conference this year?
Most definitely.
This will be your third or fourth year you came?
This would be fourth. It'll be the fourth year. Yep.
Well, cool. Well, Everett, I won't keep anymore, man. I appreciate you coming in and appreciate your patience and coming in. If anybody would like to go check out his channel, it's a lot of fishing
Before I go,
yeah.
For those who don't know, like I always say, there's nothing wrong with a lot of fishing. I'll see y'all next time.
That's all right. Well, thank you, Everett.
Yep.
And if everybody wants to check out Everett, check his channel out. Links in the description. He's a good guy. Appreciate you coming in, Everett. We'll see you in the conference.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, links in the chat, everybody. I can tell you won't be disappointed. Go check him out.
Yeah, he goes everywhere. I think he went to North Carolina, South Carolina this time.
All right, Everett. Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, Everett. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
And Hervé wanted me to tell you guys that he had to slip out to help out with the youngins. So he said thanks for inviting him up, and he'll see everybody at CatCon.
Well, good deal. Well,
here's a question from Dieter. There seems to be a newfound enthusiasm for your YouTube channel and creating content. Has the change in your lifestyle sparked that?
What's his question again? It's too long.
There seems to be a newfound enthusiasm for your YouTube channel and creating content. So you've been creating more lately. Has the change in your lifestyle, talking about your diet, sparked that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
But you have been losing a lot of weight, and you put up a good post on Facebook about feeling good and all that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how you feel when you lose a bunch of weight. I was actually doing. I got me these 230-pound dumbbells at Walmart, and I was actually doing them. But I laid on my back, and I had to grab them and put them here. But when I put them 60 pounds on my chest, I just realized, dude, you just lost 60 pounds, and you had this on your chest, living like that. And but yeah, I've lost 60 pounds. I did go back in the river a few weeks. Back in the spring. Most people might have seen it, but what they didn't see is me almost dying back there. And long story short, I talked to the man back there. I think he smacked me in the back of the head when I reached the top of the hill and smacked the soul of some old Jamaican dude in me, because I've changed. I did a 360 or a 180. I used to bite my fingernails like crazy. I haven't touched them in months. Just my whole attitude, how I eat, everything. It's be happy. Be happy. That's the only thing that people really need to know nowadays. Is there's too much crap in the world. So, and if anybody really is interested in my weight loss and want to know how I did it, I just quit eating sugar and I quit eating bread and drinking milk. I love milk. I could drink a gallon of milk a day. But
you and my stepdad, man, they put away a gallon of milk in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I eat about 1,000 calories a day, and I did all the weight. I lost my first 50 pounds, and didn't even exercise at all. But now I've reached a point where, and most of you probably seen the video where I can't pick fish up anymore. That was stupid. So I've kind of been building myself up. And next time you see me, guys, and I do catch a big fish, I'm probably going to be able to pick it up. So, awesome. And it's amazing how fast your body can heal. That's another thing I can't figure out. 3 weeks ago, I couldn't do squats. Now I'm doing 20. And that's not a lot for some people, but it's a lot for a fat man.
I hear that. So, well, hey, here's a good question for the catfishing OG. Any advice for someone wanting to get into making YouTube videos, catfishing gear, reviewing, etc.? And everybody up here, Chris Flores and Epic, all y'all can answer that.
They're probably smarter than me on that than I was. I'm just I never did name my channel, and back when YouTube was first started, that's when I got on YouTube. I didn't know nothing about the internet, because that's when I started looking into it, and didn't know that anything was any different. So that got me sidetracked. What was I talking about, fellas?
YouTube.
Yeah. One thing I wish I'd have done is had a different name, and I've pigeonholed myself into the catfish dude. I can't go out and fish for bass no more. I can't go out and fish for crappie because I'm the catfish dude. But if you're gonna start a channel, I wouldn't keep it just catfishing. I would probably just say fishing. That way, if you ever decide you want to make a video, if I do a crappie video, people might not watch it because they're not expecting crappie out of Steve. They're expecting big catfish. So if I could say anything, just name your channel something that won't pigeonhole you into one species.
What about you, Chris Flores?
Well, yeah, Steve's got a really good point. When you pigeonhole yourself like that, you're narrowing down your audience to that specific topic.
Yeah.
So if you keep it broad, you have a bigger audience, and that's one of the main reasons that Luke Nichols made the Outdoor Boys, because he was realizing that cats and carp is only going to go so far, and he wanted to reach more people. And that was one of the smartest moves he did, was making the Outdoor Boys channel. So now, I mean, he's got, I don't even know how, a couple million subscribers now on that channel.
Yeah.
Doing all that stuff. But also, you got to find something that you really enjoy doing, because if you're just doing it to do it, you're going to get burnt out. Because even doing what you love to do, you get burnt out. It's hard to be behind the camera trying to record everything, and you're really missing the actual enjoyment of it because you're trying to capture it. So that's kind of like a double-edged sword there. So like for me, what I do is I'll go out, I'll film my videos, and then I put the camera away, and then I just fish for myself, because otherwise you're just not really having fun anymore. So make sure whatever it is that you're going to make your videos about, you really enjoy it, and then you got to be consistent. Consistency is very important. Put out one video a week, 2 videos a week, but keep it consistent. And then of course, then it gets into the technical stuff like titles and tags and all that
thumbnails.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the main things I'd say to look at.
The consistency thing is what's going to make your channel grow. And I just can't do consistency because I'm running Monster Rod Holders. I'm doing a Kansas City Catfish Conference. I'm doing a Louisville Catfish Conference. I've spread a little too thin, but yeah, that's the consistency. Is you got to dedicate a certain night on a week, Tuesday nights or something, for your videos.
And Tim, how about you?
Or you can do none of that, which that's what I did, of course. I not only pigeoned myself in the catfish thing, but now, since I named myself Epic Catfish, everything's got to be epic.
Epic, yeah.
So there is no way to just go channel catfishing down at the edge of the. Well, I mean, I suppose I could, but it's just one of those things. And for me, that's actually motivational for me, because I'm old, kind of grizzled. I mean, I've been fishing a long time, so it actually gave me something more to look forward to and to shoot for, because I've done a lot of things that I'm really happy about. I've done a lot of things I wasn't very happy about, but at the same time, if I was going to do a channel, I might as well just shoot for it. Because really the object was never to become the YouTube guy that's got 1 million followers. For me, now I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it'd be a great life if I could, but I never viewed myself as somebody that everybody would like to watch anyway. I'm going to have a certain group of hardcores that like to watch what I do, and maybe I was completely wrong. I don't know. I still second guess it every once in a while. I put a lot of work into some things that don't get hardly any views, and some get a lot of views. I haven't figured out the algorithm, but
none of us figured it out yet. That's the tough one. Except Luke Nichols. Luke's probably got it all figured out.
Well, and if I could chime in, I think, I've had limited success. I'm getting there, but the hardest thing for me to do was to just start making videos. I was too concerned about the equipment and the title and the names and the logos and all that stuff. When really none of that's going to get viewers until you put out some videos. So that's what I would say, is start your channel, put out some videos, go on some of these Facebook group pages and post your link, and people will start checking you out. And, unless you have a video that goes viral immediately, it's going to take a while for you to grow, and you just got to be okay with that.
Right.
and it'll happen if you make good content. And Luke Nichols says this: focus on making the best possible video you can, and if you do that, then people will start watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll have
Well-
60 hours in a video, Kevin. I don't have
How many?
60, I don't have 60 hours to put a video. I mean, I'll if I try to focus on that, and I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is effort is the key to life. There's no doubt. But you do have to decide how much effort you're going to put into it, and what is it going to be worth to you. I mean, because honestly, I mean, a guy could pine over his, all the stuff that he has in the can, as they say, or you can choose things, and it depends. I mean, I've cut the same video 3 different ways, and it always has it has 3 different kind of flavors to it, and it seems to me like you guys are absolutely right. Consistency, because honestly, the guys that do the same thing every time, and I'm not complaining, I complain in my point of view because I don't want to watch people do the same thing every single time.
Right.
But they got a gazillion viewers. I mean, everybody knows exactly what to expect. I don't like watching the same shows my wife watches because I already know who did it in 5 minutes. I know who did it. Watch NCIS. It's the B actor that never. But you see him in the first 5 minutes. That's the guy, and I don't want to watch that. But there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, it looks like we got one more in the room, the green room.
Yeah,
back there.
this is another one of our CatCon crew members. One of the duo of Chris and Telly Lee of Hooks and Hammocks.
Hey,
How's
Chris, how you
everybody
doing?
Tim,
Good.
Chris, Steve, Kevin.
Where's your better half?
She worked all day today and she's pretty wore out.
Ah, okay.
I'm recovering from COVID, so it's been a bit crazy around here.
Well, how are you feeling now?
I'm getting better.
Well,
I'm
good.
just really wore out. I fell asleep. And I would have been up here earlier. I apologize for that, but
okay. Well, we won't keep you. I just wanted to bring you in here and thank you for your help with the Catfish Conference and the videos, and introduce you to maybe some of my subscribers, and maybe they could come over and see what you got to offer, and tell us about your channel and who you are and where you're at.
well, our channel is called Hooks and Hammocks. We live in central Indiana. We try to do a lot of fishing, mostly catfishing, camping, backpacking, and my wife's an amazing cook, so she's been doing some cooking videos too. Those are going over really well with everybody.
Right. Yeah, we seen that cooking video. Is she gonna come to the conference?
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Are you guys gonna enter the catfish cook-off?
That's something we haven't discussed. I don't know if she's gonna.
Man.
I'll have
That's
to talk
gonna be
to her
good.
about that. I mean, to be completely honest with you, we hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, well, there's a good prize, and the guys that have won it 2 times in a row already are coming back. So if she's got something that she can knock them off that pedestal.
Well, we
She
may
can
have
bring
to,
those foil packets and wow everybody with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, have her come talk to us. We'll get her going. That'll be fun.
We'll talk about that. But Steve, I want to thank you and giving us the opportunity to make some videos for the Catfish Conference channel, and just thinking about us being part of that. It blows our minds, that this time last year I was watching. I had no idea I would ever meet Steve Douglas or Palmetto Cats or Muddy River, anybody. I would never thought I'd be up here on a live stream with any of you guys, but here we are, and we appreciate it, and we're looking forward to doing a lot more.
Well, good deal. Like I say, just wanted to maybe introduce you to some of the guys that are helping me to my crowd as well, and that's what it's about. That's the reason we started this years ago, is just like networking, and I have seen a lot of networking work in the Catfishing Conference through business and business, or pro staff and business, or just any way. There's a lot of networking going on at the Catfish Conference, and I think it's cool how everything has grown, and it grows with people like you, Chris. So I appreciate you guys liking catfishing.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate it. You don't know how much it means to us to be part of it.
Well, perfect. Well, and where are you at, Central Indiana? Where's your home waters at?
Well, I mean, I would say our home waters are channel cat only waters, but we're starting to learn the Ohio River so we can chase those blues.
I got you. You got a boat and everything?
Yep.
Got a nice boat.
What you say, Kevin?
I said they got a nice boat. Isn't it a tracker?
It's a Ranger.
Ranger. I get those two mixed up.
It's the same thing, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, so Chris and Telly have accepted the challenge to make those videos, and they and Austin and Cecil with Slinging Baits and Chris, and they've all been a huge part of growing the Catfish Conference YouTube channel with a lot of tutorial videos. So anybody in chat, if you're wanting to learn pretty much anything about catfishing, these guys and girls have made really good videos, high quality videos, which is what we wanted. So go check them out. And that's just a teaser, because then you go over to their channel and they have so many more. I mean, looking at Chris Flores up at the top, you can go see if catfish will eat onions or WD-40.
Hey, one of Chris's best videos, and he used to joke with me about it years ago when I first met him, but one of his best videos he's ever done, he don't even catch a fish. He just sits there and eats a sandwich while he's watching his fishing pole. He's got like 1 million views on that.
Wow.
Yeah, a bunch of the old school stuff.
Yeah,
I'm going to try that.
Try it.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you stopping in and chatting with us for a minute. Is there anything you'd like to say before you take off up out of here?
No, like I said, it's just something that, I want to thank you and everybody up here on panel for giving us an opportunity to be part of this family. I mean, it's a family, this catfish community, and we're looking forward to continuing on and helping out in any way we can.
Well, awesome. And you guys are coming to the conference, you said, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll be there.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, we hope to heal up soon, buddy.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, Tim. I'm going to probably let you get started again, and I'm going to have to run back behind the shed a minute. But here,
well, we had a couple more super chats. Here's Florida Catfishing. Florida Channel Catfishing. Sandra donated $5. She said, "Happy birthday, Steve."
Thank you so much.
And there was one earlier, and it was from Sheila Childers. I think she gave $10, and she said she's excited for the conference.
Well, thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. And we were working hard to make this conference one of the best ones it is. I'm excited for all the functions we got going with it. Not only the vendors, but Kevin's event. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Do you want me to talk about the swap shop real quick?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And then I'm going to go find
sure.
the tool shed there real quick, and I'll be right back.
All right.
But yeah, tell them about the swap shop.
All right. Well, we had it in Kansas City, and it was fresh, brand new. I think the people gave away more equipment than they sold. But at the Louisville CatCon, you can bring new or gently used fishing gear, nets, poles, reels, tackle, depth finders, anything you want, up to 5 items. And you pay $5 at the ticket booth, and you get entrance into this booth to where you can sell your gently used fishing gear or stuff you just don't want anymore. So if you want to sell a couple rods in the booth and then buy a brand new one or buy something else, you can bring those items in. And then if you're looking to buy some of those deals, then you can get in for free. You don't have to buy a ticket. So you only have to buy a $5 ticket to sell things, and you can bring up to 5 items per day. So if you sell 5 on Friday, you can bring 5 more on Saturday, and you can sell them there at the booth. And our buddy Michael Murillo, who's been in chat, Murillo's Family Fishing, he'll be there to guide you along the way. And we also had some donations there. It was pretty cool. We had some kids stop by, and people donated rods to the kids. So it was just an awesome experience just to have that going on. So that's something new that we added at Kansas City, and it'll be at Louisville. So make sure you check that out too.
Awesome. Well, we are back. How is everybody still wanting to go a little bit longer here?
We got 264 people in chat.
Well, let's roll on. I'm game if everybody else is.
I got a quick story.
All right, what you got? What you got, Chris?
So this kind of goes back to what Tim was talking about. It reminded me when he said put the bait in the fish's face. So one time, me and my buddy, you might have seen him in a few videos, the guy called Stone Cold Steve Austin. We went out in the float tubes and we were fishing. And we were fishing this it was this cut bank, and it had some nice timber in there. And we wore the fish out. I mean, it was fish after fish after fish, flatheads, 20, 30, 40-pound fish all day until we ran out of bait. And so about a week later, we said, let's go back, man. Let's go back. So we went back out there and we started fishing and did not get a bite. Nothing. It was dead. Well, me being me, I said, well, I got to find out why. There's two reasons, one or two. They're either still here and they're just not feeding, or they moved out of this hole and they're gone. So I parked my float tube and I dove in and I started kind of almost like noodling, but I'm not trying to catch them. I just want to find out if they're there. So I started feeling around. So, oh, yep, there's one right here. Okay. So I moved down, I dive under. Oh, there's another one right here.
That's crazy.
So they're here, they're just not biting. So then I had this idea. I said, well, this might make a good video. And so I set up the camera. I tell my buddy, you tie off right here. Give me your bait. I'm going to put it in their face and see if he eats it. So I take the bait, a big old piece of cut bait, and I go down. I find me a flathead, and I find his face, and I'm wiggling in his face like that, and I'm rubbing it on his snout, and I'm slapping him with it. He wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing. So after, I'd say probably 10 minutes of trying to get him to eat that bait, he finally swam off. But yeah, it just goes to show that don't think that the fish aren't there. They're just not feeding at that time.
Right.
Chris, that must have been what happened when I came up to visit you.
I should have dove in and slapped him around for you.
Well, you did dive in once this year, didn't you, with Miss Paula's fish?
I did dive in for her fish. Yes, sir. Poor Paula. She thought I was never going to come back up. I just told her, I said, look, you know where the truck's at? The keys are right there. You know your way home.
Right. Yeah, that was unexpected, but it was pretty nice. Let's see. All right.
Remember one thing, Chris. You can have those days where they won't bite anything. But most of the time, you can pretty much shove a broomstick in a flathead's face and he'll bite it.
Right.
I could demonstrate that all the time. I'd be like, out in my tank, I got like a 10-foot thing, it's 4 foot deep, big flathead in there. I'm like, watch this. Just sort of tap the stupid broomstick in front, and he just pound it like that. It scares you every time because you don't know when it's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Chris, don't you have a
because they're hungry, or are they eating out of aggression? That's the question.
Right.
Chris, don't you have a pet flathead?
Yeah, I do, and it's interesting to watch. And he's only a little guy. He's maybe about that big or so. But it's interesting. Like I'll throw a handful of minnows in there, and he's got this little hollowed out log that he likes to hide in, and you automatically assume that as soon as he sees that minnow, he's going to eat it. And a lot of times he will, but there's also times that those minnows will go in, they'll swim in there with him, they're rubbing up on him, and he just pays them no mind at all. So very interesting.
Sometimes they won't eat for 3 days, and then all of a sudden they eat everything in the tank.
Well, this brings me back to my next question for Mr. Tim Scott. And that's barometric pressure, moon phase. why do these fish bury in the mud? Why do you, when you catch these big fish eventually after they decide to start biting again, why is their bellies all muddy? What's your I mean, I got my suggestions on that. What's your thoughts on the moon phase and barometric pressure with these fish?
Well, we know that fish are very sensitive. They're almost like a swimming tongue or a swimming organ. So especially the swim bladder. So the swim bladder is very sensitive to changes in the atmosphere, because it's not that they just love to know whether the moon's out or whether the water's dropping or whatever. It's actually a fight or flight mechanism. It's like, okay, if the water starts dropping and all of a sudden maybe they're deep, or maybe they're, most time it'd be if they're shallow, if they're at one atmosphere and all of a sudden it lightens up because it drops about 2 or 3 feet, they know to go deep. They don't even have to think about it. It's just an automatic. So we know that the moon phase has somewhat of an effect. It has a major effect on the ocean, but it has somewhat of an effect on fresh water because it creates a pull. It's a gravitational pull. So that has to somewhat, the fish have to have some sort of integral knowledge of that. They have to, and usually there's not one thing or the other that they can differentiate. Okay, this is why I'm doing this, or this is why I'm doing that. It's basically an inherited instinct, and they do a reaction to it. Now, I've never been able to put a thumb on what's going on as far as the moon phase, except for the light. Now, when the moon's full and it breaches the trees on fairly shallow water, the flathead bite on most of the areas that I've ever fished in my life kind of goes south. Okay. Now, is it because of the gravitational pull? No, because we can still usually catch fish up until 10:30 till it breaches the trees and shines on the water. Now, this is in fairly shallow water situations. Catfish Heroes will tell you the same thing. He fishes one of those. It's very susceptible to the moonlight. Now, the deeper you fish, the less that seems to matter. If you're fishing 15 foot and less for flatheads, it seems to matter greatly. If you're fishing 15 or more on like the Mississippi with more stained water, it seems to matter less. If you're fishing, and let's face it, the Tennessee is a fairly clear water river compared to a lot of them. But most of the things that I'm seeing on the Tennessee, and I've fished it myself too, is that catfish are holding fairly deep most of the time, and they come up shallow in short bursts. They don't normally hang out shallow. They hang deep and go up. And we kind of know this because I watch Steve and I watch other people that fish the Tennessee, and I talk to people that fish the Tennessee. So as far as a quantum physics sort of equation, I really don't have one. All I have is pretty much like everybody else does. Well, I've had bad experiences when the moon comes up. Now, one thing's a difference. One difference on that is you can't say that the moon affects catfish if you only go fishing once a month. But I mean, back in the day, I used to go fishing every day. And I see the patterns. I've seen the patterns where when the bite picks up, when it slumps off, when it bites up, and the trend that works with. So I don't know if besides this, what do they call that? The cellular tables. As far as the major and then the minor bite activity or the bad activity, I don't know that a person can really make it. If they're going to fish or they're not going to fish. I think with everybody's short amount of time we have, you just got to fish whenever you can go.
Well, the moon phase, I've never had a whole lot of luck on the moon phase until this past year, and then I'm a believer. I may just be August, I don't know, but most of the time on a full moon, I can't catch any fish. But this year, I noticed that my depth finder was lying to me. I'd be in a definite 70 foot of water, but my depth finder's telling me I'm in 5 and 6 foot of water. That's the bait that rose up with this moon.
Okay.
And I mean, I know this is a tall tale. I can back this up because I do have some footage of it, but most of my footage on that night got lost. But
Plankton
from 6
clouds
o'clock,
do the
from
same
6
thing.
o'clock in the evening, when I first put my bait out, to 2 o'clock in the morning, and this was on a full moon night, it was 50, 60, 70, triple digit, 90, 80 all night. I had to quit at 2 o'clock in the morning. I caught my last 90-pound fish. Like to never got it in a boat, but that's just goes to show you there's one, like I never would have. I don't like fishing full moon, but that one there showed me, yeah, you can catch fish on a full moon. Same thing with a what I call a bluebird sky. I don't have much luck on bluebird sky, but I know plenty of guys that's caught 100-pounders on bluebird sky. So
Steve, one of my top 10 anchors was on a bluebird sky in the middle of the day for flatheads in a bluebird sky, and I wasn't really thinking it was going to be that great. We ended up catching 9 flatheads, and I think 6 or 7 of them were over 30. There was a couple over 40. There's a 50, a 60, and a 62, all in just the middle of the day bluebird skies. But it was in June, so you know sometimes you have to discount those things that happen rare because you got to say they're an event. You can't say that they're a standard unless you can really pick what happens consistently. So out of all the 10 or even top 20 anchors I've had in my life, I'd have to say half of them are not a normal circumstance. Like you're saying, you're marking the bottom and it was bait fish that rose up. I've even seen it where the plankton is going towards the moon because that's what they use. They're phytoplankton. And so they're using light and they're converting it to energy. And especially in a clearer water river, you can get those plankton blooms, and then you can get the bait fish going underneath that, and then you can get the big giant fish eating. So I mean, it is what it is. A person can only count on what happens day after day, and hour after hour, and then figure out that fish are going to change their location, their habits, their whatever day to day and hour to hour too, and you have to just listen to the fish.
Exactly. That is the best thing to do is listen to the fish. And that's like you was talking about them big baits a while ago, Tim. You showed me that big bait. I always, no matter where I'm at, start with a huge donkey bait. And then if I'm not having any luck, then I start going to a smaller bait. But I always start with the big one because you never know when the big boy's be down there.
Hey guys, I got a question about baits. So we're in the winter time right now, and you hear that thing about, you can be more successful with downsizing your baits and your hooks and all of that. So, I just watched a video with Richard Jean, the fishing machine, and he had light tackle, a little threadfin shad, a small eagle claw hook, and pulled in a 60-pound blue down there where he's at. What do you feel about downsizing baits and hooks? Is it even necessary, or is it a good practice?
Who you talking, me?
Yeah, you can go first.
Yeah. I know a big 70, 80-pound fish has been caught on quarter-size bait in the Mississippi River and Ohio River and Tennessee River.
Yeah.
But it like for instance, Tim was talking about a while ago when things shouldn't be like they are. That's when you try something new and try the smaller baits. And a lot of times that fish, he may not want that big old piece of bait, but he may take a little snack over here. Mm-hmm. The big bait, he may just ate a big old 5-pound carp 20 minutes earlier, but he may want this little quarter-size snack. So I think it could be good for both. You just got to figure out what they want. But if I was you in North Carolina, where are you fishing at, Kevin? What's
South
lake?
Carolina, Santee Cooper.
Yeah,
we always do small baits.
I'd be throwing me the biggest bait I can find down there. You got big fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You got big fish down there, man.
Even in the winter, you think?
Yeah, them fish ain't
Kevin, you don't have real winter.
Right.
That's not winter.
True.
That's like kind of up here we'd be swimming in it.
I wasn't asking for me. I was asking for the chat. I mean, a lot of people ask about that is they hear different things on YouTube channels, and a lot of people say downsize your baits in the winter, and I just wanted to know what you guys thought of.
Well, I'd say downsize the bait in the winter, but not necessarily. But I'd downsize it once you see the attitude of the fish. Mm-hmm. The fish, like say, don't always want that big bait. Tim?
Gotcha.
So Kevin, I'm ready to tell you about my captain's log. So a lot
Okay,
of people
cool.
ask me, where did captain's log come from? And I explained it in a live, so I a couple weeks ago. But I did used to write down in a sort of a scientific manner my fishing trips. And one thing, if I was to go through my captain's logs, it would say that yes, you can catch big fish on big baits in the winter, but the propensity of fish to ignore bigger baits and eat smaller ones is pretty big, and I'll tell you why. Scientifically, this is a so you've got catfish, which are cold-blooded. We all recognize that. So digestion is one of those things that needs warmth to propagate, to go quicker. So everybody says, well, these catfish in the winter got their feed bag on, and this is true to an extent. But most of the time, it's because they're not digesting. They're just eating enough to fit in there because there's no other room, if you think about it. And I have reached into their stomachs to grab things, in the winter, in the summer, in the whatever, kind of like Chris was saying, hey, he gets down there with his, whatever, and tries to feed him and stuff. Well, I used to get into where I was reaching in because, I don't have the giant hands, I could just get into there, you'd have to get a pretty big fish, but you'd start grabbing stuff all the way from the bottom of their stomach. And I first learned that from the DNR because they would actually put a tube down and then pipe water into it and see what comes up. Well, I was actually skilled enough to do that. And you would see all kinds of things in the winter. And you would see that, and it's different than the summer. The summer, they will digest the skin and all the guts on bait fish that they're eating. The scales will slough off. They don't really... They don't actually digest the scales. They just sort of poop those out. So all of a sudden in the wintertime, you've got where they're emulsifying really hard at the very bottom. And emulsifying basically means it's turned into jelly or mush. Whereas if you reach in a flathead stomach in May, it will take it'll have all of the skin gone, all the guts gone, the eyeballs are gone, all that stuff is gone. And sometimes they may just go puke it and then start eating again. But they don't do that in the winter. It starts to stack up. It's kind of a weird thing. I mean, it's just slow digestion, and it's no different than a muskie that's got, once he eats in the cold water period, it's got to go shallow to get some sunlight and get a little bit warmer so that they can digest.
The metabolical system gets going. Yeah.
What's that?
The metabolical, the
yes. The metabolic system's got to be jump started by external means because they don't have an internal means like we do.
So how important is barometric pressure? I don't think we actually answered that.
Well, go ahead.
Steve can go first because, I want to hear what Steve.
I don't really know much about that barometric pressure, to be honest with you.
Just low pressure fronts or high pressure fronts, like you were talking about earlier. Bluebird skies versus gray skies.
Yeah, like I say, I don't pay much attention to it. I have to fish when I have to fish. But that being said, hang tight, man. Let me see if I can show you something. I do have a barometric pressure.
And thank you, Dominic Hollis, for that $10 super chat. He said, I really hate to leave greatness, but I have to spend some quality time. Can't wait to meet everyone at CatCon. Happy birthday, Mr. Steven. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys, this has been sitting on my table for a while. This is a barometric pressure gauge. It's really rudimentary, but it works for me. I've known about this since I was a kid. There's a little project I did. But this water, I did a video about this about 4 years ago, and this is the same water in it. I even moved and brought it with me in the same water. But as you can see, the higher it goes up into the neck of this bottle, the higher the pressure is. And the lower it is, when you don't have anything up in this, that's when it tells you to go fishing. So that's a little tricky deal right now. Right now it's high pressure, and I'd probably stay home. But if I stayed home when it's high pressure all the time, I'd never get to fish.
Right.
There you go.
So I do have a good story about barometric pressure, low pressure system versus high pressure system. When when I was guiding on the Mississippi for flatheads in June, I did it for quite a few years in a row, and I eventually learned these spots that giant flatheads would hang out, and I could fish them during a high pressure, situation on Monday, and you might catch a 25 or a 30, and then you got to move, and then so during high pressure, it was going to take a light change, 6 o'clock to whatever. But if a storm beared down on us, I knew that I need to get to certain spots. And getting to those certain spots, and I may have fished them 20 minutes ago. We got a storm bearing down, and all of a sudden you throw your baits, and your baits has to be. It's not like you can just fish anywhere in a low pressure situation, or especially if a big storm's coming in, and all of a sudden all your rods are going down. You got to be on them. But it would trigger those fish, and I think if I went back to my captain's log, I'm pretty sure I caught more than about 30 flatheads over 50 pounds in that exact scenario, to where we got pounded by rain, or it was a lightning storm, or something goofy was moving through. Now, it's not that we didn't catch them during high pressure, because we certainly did. But that was something for 2 to 3 years while I was doing it that was an obvious tell. It showed itself. And I think I could redo it. Now, once it started raining, done. Once that kind of came in and the big front moved through, I didn't catch giant fish like that. But if I could be on the right spot, I could be at the sunken barge, I could be at the drop, a 20-foot drop with a tree in there. I could be at the edge, or the footing of a wing dike, or if I could be at the bridge, it was game on. I mean, it was great guns. I mean, bam, and the timing was so suspect that it really sticks in my mind.
And that was where was that, out on the Mississippi River?
Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen to me on the Ohio River. I don't know if you know where Cairo, Illinois is or not, but that's where
I do.
The Ohio River dumps into the Mississippi River right there.
Yes, sir.
And I was kind of down. I was up from the bridge a little bit one day. This was during a Cabela's tournament years ago. But, man, you could see the lightning and the black cloud just hovering right over the confluence right there at Cairo. Lightning, storm. And I was back away from it, just dry as a bone, watching it all. But, man, my rods were going down left and right. I was just drifting down through there and catching big fish. One of them actually broke my heart. Didn't get to see him, but he was 100 plus, I'd say. Yeah. But it's just one of them days where all the pressures were equalized and the fish was saying, let's go. So,
yeah. And I have a theory on that, because, of course, fish aren't thinking creatures. So you're going to have some sort of mechanism that lets them be successful. So if there is a big storm front coming, they may not see a good food situation again, because if there's a super flood that comes with that, they may need to eat a lot and then just basically wait that thing out. I mean, right. I don't know. It's mostly a guess. I wish I could talk to him like Chris does.
Mm-hmm. You need to make you a helmet.
Well, let's ask Chris. Chris, what do you think about high pressure versus low pressure out there in New Mexico?
I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think a lot of it is it kind of goes with what they're saying. You get that pressure system, and then that bite shuts off. My rule of thumb is after a storm or a weather change or shift in temperature drop or whatever, 3 days later, it seems to kind of mellow out, and then they'll start up again. So that's my rule of thumb. Once everything gets kind of turned around, I know in about 3 days I'll be catching fish again.
And that was interesting. You told me about that. You told me about that when I came out, and that's a pretty cool rule of thumb. That but it only helps you if you go fishing all the time. Right. If you got that one day to go fish like I do, you're gonna go. Pressure don't matter.
Yeah. Well, in a perfect scenario, you want all that. And like I say, that's when the pressure's high, I believe, is what pushes them catfish all the way down on the bottom. Like I say, a lot of times you catch them but then again, I don't know. Some of them's got different moods because some of them you catch will be clean as a whistle, and the other ones will just have quarter-inch of mud caked on them. So you never know. I don't know if it's like the left side of the river has not got the pressure and the right side does, because sometimes I struggle when I end up catching fish with the mud on their bellies. So I wish we could figure out what would trigger. Most of these catfish are not like bass. They are triggerable up to a point, but like Tim said, they're just like the bait might be gone by the time they think, "Oh, I'm gonna go get it." The big ones. Now the small ones, they'll just attack it and do all that. But
because they have that luxury, Steve. They have that time.
Right.
They can eat whatever they can eat whatever they want to, and it's like, well, they can kind of take their time. Because really, if those big ones didn't take their time, they're just eating it, they'd already been caught. Probably done by now.
Well, there's some smart ones for sure. I've had some fish that's been caught before that are huge that know how to get back off of a line, and I've got it on video to prove it. When they start going under your boat, and then going way on the other side, they know, and you can't get that rod around nothing. My boat, you can't, because my boat's so big and tall, and I don't want to get in the water. So
there's a good question. What's the most important sense a catfish relies on? Sight, smell, sound, etc.
I'm gonna say smell.
I'm gonna say whatever it needs at the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, whether it's smell. It's been pretty obvious that I've been in the Mississippi River on certain situations where sight was a major factor. And they just, it's not that they didn't smell anything. It's not that they didn't feel for anything. It's not that there wasn't vibrations. But when they're hitting silvery bait fish over dark green bait fish, hands down, for 2 weeks in a row, it's pretty obvious that you've got to have a little bit of flash going on.
Right.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't they hit, why wouldn't they hit a green sunfish like this as opposed to a silvery bait fish like this? But, as a science experiment, you got 6 rods out and you throw 3 green sunfish and you throw 3 white bass or 3 shad or 3 whatever that are silvery. And there's been times, especially when it's low and clear, that's a prevalent thing.
Right.
At least it is where I fish. And I hear of other people talking about it on the Tennessee. I hear of other people talking about it in other places.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be safe to assume that when your waters are muddier, that you would want to have a bait that's more aimed at their sense of smell, and then if you're in clear water, you want something that reflects light?
I've seen that in my experiences. I'm not saying that it's always true, because it isn't always true. It seems to go in these weird cycles, and it seems to depend on whether there's competition or not. If you're in a situation where you're below a dam, or you're at a hole, or you're at the rise of a hole, or you're at a ledge, and there's only 1 or 2 catfish, it really doesn't make a difference. But if you're on a number of catfish that have been there for quite a few days, that's when it seems to make a difference. Now, we may just be splitting hairs, and you just go, okay, I got a silver bait, I got this bait, I got smelly baits, I got whatever. Let's just throw and see what works. But I just find it interesting because I'm a catfish nerd.
The Outdoor Boys, Luke popped in and said, yes. Chris is like, yes, having water is important.
That's the most important key right there. If you can have water, you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Chime
Thank
in.
you, Luke, for stopping by.
What's that?
I said, thank you, Luke, for stopping by my little old channel here. Appreciate it.
Real quick, chiming in on what you guys are talking about as far as the sense. I think, first, I think it depends too if you're targeting flatheads or channels or blues, because flatheads I know feed a little differently than blues and channels. But I think the lateral line has a lot to do with it. We have these conversations on my boat with my clients, and they're talking about bloody baits and smelly baits and how important is it. And I tell them, I said, well, think about it. The majority of the fish that they're feeding on, these shad, they're not injured and bleeding. They're not leaving a blood trail for them to be found, right? So what are they looking? How are they tracking them? So they may be putting off a scent to some point, but they're also making a disturbance in the water, and that's what the lateral line picks up on. It picks up on that disturbance. So now when the fish attack and stress out the shad, will the shad create that slime or that mucus that they put out, and that in itself is a scent trail. Some guys don't believe in keeping that slime on the shad, but I think that's very important to keep on there. That's what's going to attract them to your bait. So in my mind, because they're predators, they attack because they sense the movement. The fish stresses out, it puts that scent trail out, leaving that slime, and that's how they find their bait.
That's interesting.
Slime coat's very important, I've found, especially when targeting channel cats in the pre-spawn. Once the slime coat's gone off of the shad that you catch, it's way more advantageous to get new shad. I mean, it's huge. Not all
what do
the
you
time,
guys?
Pretty huge.
What do you guys think about the demon dragons and rattles or catfish floats like that? You know, a lot of people are starting to believe in those and purchase them. Is it more for the fishermen, or do you think it actually has plays a role for the fish? We'll start with Tim since he's up on the screen.
Yeah, I think it plays a huge role in certain circumstances, especially if you're less than 2 mile an hour current. I mean, if you're in less than 2 mile an hour current, and let's think, Steve and Chris and everybody else, when we're marking blues, they're usually a foot or two off the bottom. I mean, sometimes they'll be higher, sometimes they'll be lower, but a lot of times when they're cruising, they're about a foot off the bottom. And so you've got a situation where this thing can hold that, especially with a little bit of current. So easy that they can just gobble. They don't even have to head down. They don't even have to whatever. So I've seen it pay off when I'm in slower water. Now, when I'm in faster water, I'd have to have a float about 5 times this big to get it up, because that current's just going to pin it to the bottom anyway. So I rarely use them. But in the wintertime, when I'm fishing, which I don't normally get a huge chance to do, but if I'm down in the Mississippi, I'm going to fish lesser current areas behind wing dikes or maybe behind a drop, and it is going to hold it up. Works.
Well, I think the question was more aimed at the sound, the rattling demon dragons or the rattles. Do you know those Versa rattles and things like that?
Okay.
What about you, Chris?
It can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
That's what I think.
I think that kind of goes back to what I was talking about on the lateral line, where it picks up vibration. So let's say you've got your demon dragon. You're fishing in a scenario where there's not really any current or anything to shake it or make it rattle, right? But that fish taps your bait or hits it, and it rattles, and it could trigger a reaction bite. It comes back and hits it just out of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think absolutely.
There's a good comment by Outdoor Boys. Striped bass fishermen catch blue catfish trolling lures all the time in the Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac River. They like lures even without the bait. I think that's interesting.
Right.
Because they sight feed quite a bit. Vibration feed.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve, what do you think about the rattles and things of that nature? I know you don't use them too much.
Well, first off, I'm not a tackle guy. I'm the most basic tackle guy you got. I got a sinker, leader, swivels, and I fish out of a Walmart bag pretty much. But that being said, I think the float part of that is more important than the rattling part. If I'm going to use it. But when I drag, I really don't use them because it's something else that I have to get snagged. It's something else, and it's kind of the same. And I'm not knocking anybody's tackle. Do what you got to do what feels right to you. But it's like the dragging weights. I'm not trying to pay $4 a piece for a dragging weight because I'm gonna lose it. I'll get my pencil weight. I do good that, but I do like floating. I think when you put something floating on there, like a demon dragon or whatever, that's going to be more important to keeping the fish. Because if they're buried, you want to drag that bait along the bottom and just drag it. But if they're suspended a little bit off the bottom, then you want to drag that bait off the bottom. And that's where the floating thing comes. Whether you use a demon dragon or a little balloon like Larry Muse showed us in that other video, something's going to work. So I'd rather use the cheaper because, man, they're making YouTube videos right now. These guys are making YouTube videos going around these lakes at the drop and getting all these lures that they're getting. So everybody's picking up lead and lures that people drop. But mainly for the fishermen, I think a lot of that stuff's for the fishermen because many guys prior to this has caught plenty of catfish without the rattles.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's not. I just don't want to use them. I don't have to keep up.
It gets expensive. I mean, a pack of some of those things is like $24. So, if you're not dead set.
Some of them are cool. Like, Chris is that I don't know if you still sell them or not, Chris, but the ones that kind of float, they got a sinker, but they float kind of up. That way, if there's a tree, then most of it's going to come up and over the tree. The floaters are pretty cool, but still, I just don't like $4 a daggone pop on the sinkers.
It also depends on where you're fishing, really. I mean, I've got some of my dragon weights that I've used so long that they've worn out on the bottom. You know what I mean? And same thing with demon dragons. If I was constantly getting snagged, I wouldn't be using demon dragons. The main thing for me is, like Steve said, to get some flotation, get it off the bottom. But at the same time, I have demon dragons that I've been using since day one. So to me, it's cheaper to buy a pack of demon dragons that are going to last me for a year or more than to buy a bunch of cheap foam floats that are going to last me a couple trips, and I have to replace them every time they get smashed and the sun melts them and they chip and break. So it all depends on your scenario, where you're fishing, what's going to work best for you.
Yeah, I'm not much on those little combo floats either, because you catch one fish and they're tore up. You got to go put another one on it. I mean, but that's what I do. Like the demon dragons, that portion of it is the floating portion, and it's really like just a swivel of sorts. You put a leader line on it and go with it. So, but some people will cut their line. I like to run mine through it and then put a rubber band
I do too.
to hold it. So,
hey, Steve.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like about the demon dragons is that when let's just say we're on a lake scenario and we're dragging baits and we've got, just say, like the little foam floats. I can tell when you're getting takedowns, bam, like this on just a smooth hard pan bottom, and you're not hooking up, and you look at it and they've been biting your floats.
Yeah.
Now, I know that sounds kind of weird, but with demon dragons, you can't tell that. You don't know. I mean, maybe they're short bite, maybe they're whatever, because demon dragons don't show bites, but those foam floats do. And I've been many times in lakes where they're biting the floats more than they're biting the baits.
Right. Well, if a man can figure out how to put him a hook on it, at least one hook to get it done.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine that does put hooks on his, but he fishes power plant lakes and drags and drifts a lot more than I do. And
well, the ones in my bait shop, the spooks in the bait shop are not, they don't sell them for catfish. I mean, they sell them for stripers and largemouth bass. So they do come with hooks on them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, guys.
Power plant that
literally
troll with crankbaits for blues, like Chris was saying. I mean, that's what they do. They get 12-foot rods, stick them out, and they go across the riprap, and they catch 50, 60-pound blues that way.
That'd be cool. I like to see that done.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work at all, but when they're active, it does.
Right. Well, I bought a bunch of them one time to do that, like up on where the flatheads are real dominant, but I haven't had time to put it into effect. But yeah, I was going to try to drag some baits like that to try to catch artificially. I know it can be done, but it's hard to get out of your habits. You go out there and you got fresh bait and you want to go set up on the biggest fish you can. You don't want to waste your time on maybe catching a fish, bumping a silver buddy or some kind of blade bait down around them.
There's a good question. In what conditions do you use different weights, like a bank, a no roll, flat sinker, coin sinker, etc.?
I use a no roll all the time just because that's what I got. I use a no roll when I'm drifting. I use no roll when I'm anchored up. I will change my rigs when I go to dragging, but if I'm suspend drifting or anchoring, I use the no rolls. It's just because that's what I got, and I don't want to have to change back and forth. I don't know what you got going on, Tim. What do you use?
I change up my sinkers probably more than anybody that I know. I mean, I know a lot of catfishermen, but I'm fishing such varied situations. I'm not a big believer that that I need to throw this out behind the boat because it's terrible. For one, it's got a big shoulder and all it does is get snagged. But I mean, I'll go into situations that it's totally different current. Like I may go up and maybe below the dam, and it's 6 to 7 mile an hour current in one pocket, and it's only 3 or 4 in another pocket. And then I'm going to go downriver, and maybe behind a wing dike or maybe on the current seam, and I only need 3 or 4 ounces of weight. And I'm a pretty big believer in using as little weight as possible, even though I'm probably the biggest proponent of giant weights on YouTube.
Yeah,
because of the crazy places that we fish, and because of its limitations. I may have to fish below the boat because I can't go up any farther. And so then I'm gonna and I'm using, like big giant Steve Douglas baits, Steve Douglas donkey baits, like this. And thick line. I mean, if I was using 20-pound tests, I'd probably get by with 5, 6, 7, 8 ounces. But sometimes I got to throw 2 pounds. And I'm always cognizant of that, because it's no fun when you throw 10 ounces down or behind the boat, and pretty soon your rod's bobbing like this because it's up off bottom again. And so I do use the big as big of a sinker slider as I can get. They maybe have bigger ones, but that's about as big as I can get, so that I can constantly change my weights up. And it's nice when I don't have to change them. Say it's low, and I really don't have to change them. Or I'm fishing a situation like the Tennessee River, and I don't have to change them. Or I'm fishing, the Rock River, and I can get by with 3, 4 ounces, and and a live bait this size in the heaviest current they got. It's pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, it's pleasurable if you don't have to, and it's a lot of work if you do. But I do.
Yeah, well, a lot of folks use those sinker slides. They're a neat idea. I just never did grow up with them or use them, and I don't use them now. I guess I should, but there is times I have to change weights. If I'm fishing 2 or 3, 4 foot of water for flatheads, I don't want to throw that 8-ounce sinker up there. No. I'm gonna throw, like you said, I'm gonna throw the least I can up there.
Yep.
But the sinker slides, that I can see, that's a quick on and off. And I've been in the boat with some guys that use them.
You know what else?
Use those or.
Yeah, I don't fish.
Those are snap swivels.
Yeah. You know what else I like about these things? When I'm done,
that?
I can take my 12-ounce sinkers off, and they don't bounce on my rods. As
Right.
I used to have to put them around my reels, because you get a 3 to 6 ounce sinker banging on a rod, and pretty soon it's broke. So I could just take those off, and it wouldn't bounce. So
it's another rig that I use when I'm dragging or when I anchor up too is kind of like a 3-way, but I don't have a dropper. I just put my sinker directly onto the swivel itself, and I don't have it sliding back and forth.
Oh, Chris has got a really interesting rig that I learned when I went out there. It's kind of a 3-way, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, like a high-low rig. But I put a float up on top, and it's trapped. It's not designed to float your whole rig up, but it's designed to help suspend your baits off the bottom. So I describe it as a true high-low, because if you have 2 hooks, one high and one low, and you get slack in your line, they're both gonna be sitting on the bottom, so it doesn't matter. But if you have some kind of flotation, it's gonna pick your top hook up for you, and now you're fishing at 2 different depths.
And then you have one. The rig I was talking about was the one you use for flathead fishing, where you don't use a leader at all.
Right. Oh yeah. So that's just a 3-way, and all I do is I tie my weight on the end of the line. I come up, I do just a little overhand knot, and then make a leader and tie in my hook there, and no swivel, no nothing. It's just all direct in line. And like I showed you that trick that I use, because it's so shallow, most of the water I'm fishing is 4 foot or so. If I get hung up, I can reel my rod down to my hook and unhook the hook and
it goes right in the eye of the rod. It's pretty cool.
Right.
So here's my only float rig. So you've got this tied directly in line, and then I've got anywhere between 1.5 to 3-4 foot before my giant weight here. It's really the only way for me in those spots to hold a bait up off bottom. And I can let line down, and it can actually get closer to the bottom or farther away from the bottom, because floats just won't really work.
Is that your drift rig?
What's that?
Is that your drift rig or your anchor rig?
No, this is my down rod rig. I don't even really drift a whole lot. This is just the ones that go straight underneath the boat. And I will cast these out a little bit, especially if I'm at a wing dike, because I do like this to be able to be, this is kind of hard to see. You're going to kind of miss it. But here's the hook. Here's the hook, and here's the weight. So you got the weight and you got the hook. So my angle from the precipice of the wing dike. Hey, we got the board. I can draw this. I'll try to hurry. Let me see here.
Yeah, we got the whiteboard. He used it at one time.
Yeah, well, and here on Santee Cooper, we have the just the Santee Cooper rig, and we just run that. You can run the sinker slide or a snap swivel is what a lot of people use onto that dragon weight, and we just use the float to keep it up. That's primarily the rig that I use all the time, whether it's anchoring, dragging, or suspending baits, because I figured out if you slide that float on your Santee rig all the way up to the swivel where your weight is, then it's not a float. It won't float anymore, and you can suspend your bait. So for me, I'm all about taking only the rods I need, and I don't want 2 sets of rods on the boat. And so I just use that one rig, and I don't have to change it up ever.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rig.
Good. Right, we're ready for you.
I don't know if we got too much shine on this, but usually a wing dike on the Mississippi goes, not all of them, but some of them go up very, very steep. And some of them drop off the back really pretty steep like this. So you've got your current going this way. You got your boat. All right. So, and this, it's usually kind of stretched out. Usually it's farther across here, but I couldn't draw it that far. So your boat, and you've got your rods like this. So that rig I was just talking about, I'm able to put the bottom weight down and be able to have the weight here and then the bait up here. So you've got this hook right there. So it's not really laying on the bottom. It's the fact that it's up off bottom just a little bit, and you've got blues that will move in here and nose into the dike like that. They don't usually run up it like this, but they'll run in and then they'll run over it. So I've also got down rods right up here to where I've got a bait about 1.5 feet. And this may be only 14 foot of water, and this may be 45. But I'm not casting out that far to get to 45. Now, sometimes I will cast out because I'll skip this big scour hole and I'll fish back here. But a lot of times I will catch fish based on this. And I can also take that rig, cast it out, and then drag it in a little bit till it contacts this bottom here. And it's a huge ambush point for fish. Big ones.
So what kind of current are you looking at coming across that dike when you're
on top? 10 to 12 sometimes. Sometimes it's only 6, 7. But it's you remember that short that's got that pirate song in it, and the whole thing's like rolling over like this? That's what I look for. I'll ignore all the other ones. I want to see the deepest, biggest, most violent, horrible looking pirate ship. You know, if there was a barge sunk in it, that's what I want to find. I mean, I want to find the most exaggerated situation. Now, some of them aren't. So, you know, you can go into pools. Well, you know, you can't find one that's got that kind of current. But if you can, they usually attract the biggest fish in the whole stretch. There were some tournament guys I met a long time ago that kind of taught me. They kind of pointed me in that right direction, and then I just sort of expounded on it.
Yeah, those wing dikes. Now, how do you? Let me tell you a little story. Went to the Mississippi River. I got on the wing dike bike one night. Things changed overnight. We got a drop in water. Mississippi River dropped like 5 foot overnight.
Oh,
my fish left that wing dike.
Yep, they do.
So, tell me what you do to combat the dropping water or the rising water.
Okay, so if it's dropping water, if you have normal water for 2 or 3 days, and let me draw this in topographical. All right, I'm trying to hurry here, but say you got the bank right here. You got one wing dike that extends out like this. You got another one extends out like this. Now I'm going to have to draw this smaller, of course, but normally you've got your main flow out here like that. So this is your main channel, and there's current getting deflected into this main flow like this. All right, so your strongest current is at the tips. And let's just say this is out of water. It's sticking out of water here, but this down here is 25 or 30 foot, and then this is like 40 foot, and then there's that big scour hole right there because it's washing up and over this dike. So when the water's normal, they will settle into a pattern. Well, they'll come into here, into this, and then they'll go up this dike, go over it like this when the water's up. But when the water goes down, they move, just like you were saying, Steve. They go from this situation where you might mark fish here, and then all the way down the line. Say this is the current scene. You're going to mark fish above, which they're really difficult to fish for, but you're going to mark fish that are resting out here, like this, and you're gonna mark a few out in here. But if they're active, you may mark some that are up. Like if you're looking at the top again, if they're up in here in this range, they're active. If they're down here on the bottom, just lumping it around, you might have to wait until right after dark. But when they pound that water down, normally what you can do is you can go, instead of focusing your boat in here and catching them like this, you can go off the tip, your boat out in here. And Sean and I proved it on a couple of lives where we caught those 3 fish, 70 or 270s, or I don't know what it was, a 70 and 280s, and then another time. I mean, that's the scenario we were fishing. And we did that because that water had slowed. They slowed the water on us, so we had to move out. Now the problem with the Mississippi, and here, let me
You need an assistant, a pretty assistant.
I know it. I
was about to say he needs a smart board.
So with the Mississippi, let's just say we're in here. There's so many different pockets and so much stuff that they can move like that. I've been on the Tennessee, and you see where they'll move from one, maybe a mid-river hump down to the deep where, the wood is and all that stuff. But this is so diverse, they can go because, I mean, you've got situations where you got slack water here, you may have a dike, you have, all this kind of crazy stuff going on. But what I was trying to talk about was that when these fish are in here, they'll move out into this main channel. Now the problem is with the main channel is you can't just like anchor in it. Like here's your main channel. You got a couple of dikes, you got a dike here. So you got this main flow, right? And if you anchor out here, you're going to get run over by a barge. There's just no way around it. You know, and a barge is either every half hour or every 2 minutes where you're in a traffic jam situation like that. So
Right.
I would love to be able to anchor out there. But here's one of the cool things, that when this water is coming around those dikes, I can anchor my boat in here, stay away from the barge traffic, and throw baits out and have it bump down. That's that sideways stuff. And Roger DeMint calls it, he calls it the swing rod. And that way I can stay out of the barge lane, use heavy enough sinkers like this and big enough baits, and throw it out enough. And yeah, matter of fact, on one of the 80-sums came off of one of our live shows doing that very thing. It's very common for us to do, and it would translate itself well almost anywhere, especially if you're trying to target, let me use red, if you're trying to target the eddy, you're trying to target the current that kind of goes around, and then you're trying to target the main channel like this. You could even throw up into here if you think that fish are off of the main channel and going, and you can really listen to the fish that way, like we were talking earlier. You can hear what they're doing, because okay, I'm getting bit on the right rod, I'm getting bit on the right rod, or I'm getting bit on the left rod out in the main channel. Now, if you're getting bit everywhere, well, who knows? But if you can narrow it down and then repeat that, you can be closer to having one of the best days fishing that you could probably have.
Finding a pattern.
Finding a pattern. And you know, it starts the second you get on the water.
Yeah.
And every single anchor is an experiment until you figure it out. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
Tell that fish till you catch that first fish and see what he wants. And then you got to catch the second fish to see if you confirm the right information you figured out on the first fish.
Yep.
And then it's on.
Yeah. You know, and talk to any tournament guy. They're either going to beat the water, or they're going to say, okay, beating the water is not working, so I'm going to sit here. And many a tournament guy has won just by settling himself down and saying, okay, I'm going to go to the most likely ambush spot, and I'm not even going to move. I mean, and then you got everybody else running around like chickens with their heads cut off. But that one guy that anchors on that one specific spot that either funnels fish to him, or there's fish already there, ends up winning the tournament, and he didn't spend $2 in gas.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's interesting. The wing dikes. That's probably going to be another. I don't know. Not everybody has these wing dikes. Of
right.
course.
We don't have them.
No, lakes don't, but there are a lot of rivers that do have either natural wing dikes, or at least obstructions in the water or something like that. But yeah.
Well, and it's the same like with bridges. Any of these bridges that you go across is going to create that hole behind the bridge, and similar effects like the wing dikes. Am I right, Tim?
Yes, and in front of it. A lot of people target those bridge abutments on the backside. Well, the backside, in my experience, is usually for fish that are resting. Usually the active fish are out in the front. So let me try to draw this real quick.
Hey, Steve, while Tim's doing that, I'm going to sign off here. I just want to wish you a happy birthday, my friend, and I'm gonna go spend a little time with the family before it gets too late.
All right.
Thank you for inviting me up here. It's been awesome. Kevin, appreciate you. Tim, you keep sharing that knowledge, man.
Hey, buddy, it's nice to actually talk to you. You weren't very talkative at the Catfish Conference, but I tried.
Well, he'll be there in person this time.
That's going to be awesome.
Appreciate you stopping by, Chris. Means a lot.
All right,
man.
thank you guys.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
See you later.
Shoot, we're going on 3 hours, ain't we?
Yeah.
So many people we still got left. We got another minute or two here.
Yeah, we got 276 people still watching.
The most overlooked situation on those bridge abutments is the front. And I don't normally fish for flatheads because, you guys have seen us fish bridges for flatheads. Usually it's on the current break side. Now, there is another situation where that current that pushes into this, and I'll use the red to describe the current. So it goes along the bottom or whatever, and it will scour out in the front as well as deflect off here, as well as go around the side. Now this on the back side, so you got your current going this way on the back side, this right here will also sweep around and the other side, and it will actually scour out this hole right here. And I see a lot of people fishing this scour hole like that instead of this one. And this one's actually your active fish upstream, and this one, and they don't do this too much because it's more difficult to anchor, because you got to anchor a good amount of way. But if I can get into a bridge situation where I can put a bait on that front lip that goes down, that's a hot spot right here.
Yeah.
This is also a hot spot along the edge, especially if it's catty corner to the current. Now, if it's straight, it's not as good for flatheads, but if it's turned a little bit and the current's moving into it, creating a current break, let's just say your current's going like this, but your bridge abutment's like this. Not
Right.
this side for flatheads, this side, because it'll create that whole swath of water where these flatheads can sit there in their preferred current and just pick off bait fish however they want. And the closer to a migration stopper, especially in the springtime, the more fish you're going to gather. It's pretty kind of a cool thing. And it's not just the bridge that I fish, it's every bridge that you can find in whatever river that you look at. I had to harangue Kevin when I saw him in a video or in a live going past that bridge. I'm like, there's flatheads there.
Yeah.
Hey, I was gonna say that I've fished that bridge since then like 20 times, and I haven't caught much.
But are you tight to it? I mean, are you fishing like around the bridge, or are you throwing? Okay, so
all around it, in front of it, behind it.
I know, but there's all kinds of guys that fish bridges that they don't get their stuff close enough. I got my boat on the bridge, Kevin, on it. I mean, on the bridge, not just throwing at the bridge. I can throw at that bridge all day and never catch a flathead. But you've got a situation where that thing goes like this, the current's kind of going into it like this, and you've got your pylons. I got my boat on it, and I'm throwing like a foot next to it, like this far. And then I'm using the current brake to pull stuff in. I'm throwing stuff a little bit right, but I'm using that current brake. If I was outside the current brake, I wouldn't catch anything. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong, because I certainly am not, because I haven't fished it myself. I have looked at bridges and said, man, it looked good, but it wasn't worth the crap. I mean,
no, I'm gonna keep trying it.
When I see bridges,
we have caught some blues around it, but we need to. I need to get in there. My problem is when the current, because obviously in a tidal system, my current's going to go one way and then it's going to go the other way. So I can fish that bridge on two different tides, and the outgoing tide, do you get on the front of it or the back of it, and vice versa? That's the thing I need to experiment more with.
Because when a barge comes through, I have current going the backwards way 5 times a trip. Even though my river's not tidal, when a barge goes through the other side, it shoots current right at the backside of my boat. So what I have to do is I have to take my boat like this. I have to tie up this side, and I have to tie up this side. Because otherwise, it'll spin me all the way around like that and snag up everything I got.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about,
no,
I get that for boat placement. I'm talking about, where do you throw your baits? Like when the tide is going out, do you throw on the mains, the where the current's hitting, or where the current behind it?
Oh, for flatheads, you want to be on the current break. And let me draw that again.
I think, Tim, he's talking about like you was talking about the backs upside and the backside of the bridge pillar. Normally the water's coming in tide, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah.
So by day, the spot you said was normally good would not be good on an outgoing tide, but then he'd have to reverse.
Yeah, it's going to reverse
on the
itself.
ingoing tide.
And believe it or not, flatheads will change location depending on how the current is, like clockwork.
Did you get that, Kevin? Do you understand that? Where he was saying on that bridge, they normally resting on the outgoing tide, they swap places.
I got you.
So if the current's going this way in the morning, and you got your bridge abutment, you got your pylons or whatever, as long as there's little nooks and crannies for them to fit in, flatheads love that stuff. Doesn't matter if it's a lake, doesn't matter if it's, South Carolina, North Carolina, or, almost to Canada. It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really matter what the river situation is either. I mean, I catch them on, bridges are one of the biggest flathead attractors that there is, because usually there's deep water, there's current, there's bait fish available, and there's all kinds of security for them. So if the current's going this way and you have a bridge pile or pillar or whatever, and that current is coming in maybe a little bit crossways, so where it's creating just a little bit of a current break right here, maybe, that's where I'm going to look for flatheads. Now, if the current's coming in here and there's holes in it, I might decide to put my boat here and throw here, but it's kind of snaggy. It can be. I mean, it just is what it is. And you got to kind of throw at something and figure out your best trajectory on each different bridge till you find something that you're not just going to be sacrificing rigs or whatever. But it's a high probability that there's good flatheads somewhere on that bridge at the right time, especially pre-spawn, especially other time. Your buddy Jeremy, he caught that monster flathead in the Cooper River. Is the Cooper? I mean, I don't know. Is that bridge anywhere in vicinity of the Cooper River?
That's about 2 miles from that spot where he caught that flathead.
Yeah, you got big flatheads. I'm telling you, just figure.
Oh, I know. We have big flatheads. I just
no. I mean, on that bridge. How many
okay.
feet of water is that on that bridge?
Probably about 18 to 20.
Yeah, he's probably got him a local. He's probably got him a big old local.
Flathead dance right now, because you will find flatheads on that. That's guaranteed.
I'm gonna keep fishing it, man. The biggest thing for me is getting that pontoon stopped, because you can only go under that train trestle one spot, and if you don't, you're gonna rip the whole top of your boat off. So I got to get
that. That would be a hindrance, and that is one of the reasons why I have the old style battleship type boats, because I do put my boats in danger all the. I mean, I put them in dents and danger and on dams. And
there ain't no reason to have a boat if you can't use it, is it?
Well, Kevin seems to have a pretty good time. If you watch his lives, he's pretty comfortable. It's kind of warm. It's kind of nice. He's got a couch.
For instance, yesterday I went and I had to get under that train trestle before the tide come in, or I would have been stuck out there till 11 at night, because I had the enclosure on and I'd have to take everything off of it just to get under the trestle. So I snuck under it with about 2 or 3 inches of gap. All
right, so Kevin, you got to do a live show on that bridge with Jeremy. You just get into Jeremy's boat and then go and tie up to that thing.
Jeremy don't invite me on his boat.
And shotgun some donkey, some good live baits and some cut baits down into that stuff. And I'm going to dance a jig when you catch a giant flathead out of there, because they're there somewhere. They love bridges.
You'll be the first person I call, brother.
What's that?
I said, you'll be the first person I call.
Awesome.
Well, gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. We've had a pretty good night, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. Somebody commented earlier, I think it was Uncle Lou. He said you should make this a monthly thing.
I could probably do a monthly thing, not a weekly or anything by any means. And I may be able to do bi-monthly or something, but it was really fun for me. I think I will try to do it again and bring some more guests in. The more the merrier, I think. And I've enjoyed Tim. Tim can talk all day, and that's what I like about it. And he talks about stuff people want to know.
That's right.
So that's the great part. Kevin, I want to thank you for.
Want to know too.
Yeah, yeah. Kevin, I want to thank you for helping.
Give Tim a Red
tonight.
Bull, and he'll go all day.
Right.
I haven't even had a Red Bull. I'm just on
You're
the
welcome,
regular
Steve.
Sun-kissed. But just being invited here, just talking about catfish gets me going. It really does.
Well, we'll do it again. And Kevin, tell us before we take off. Tell us the Golden Whisker Awards at the Catfish Conference again. How?
Yeah. So So yeah, it's going to be live at the Catfish Conference, of course, where if you were nominated, and everybody's invited to watch it live at the Catfish Conference.
Yeah.
But it'll also be live on my channel, Palmetto Cats, and I'm going to put the link to vote in the chat right now. I've done it once or twice before, but Steve and Epic Catfish Tim are both nominated for a couple awards. Go over there. If you think they deserve it, vote for them and vote for everybody else. And all the links to the videos that people nominated are in that form. You can just go click on it and watch them. And that'll help the creators too. They'll get more watch time on their videos. But yeah, so voting will be done on February 1st. And then on February 25th, that's the first Friday of Catfish Conference at 5 p.m. We'll be live in person at the Louisville Catfish Conference. All decked out, ready to do a show, and then you'll see us just like we are now on my channel. If you can't make it to the Catfish Conference, you can still watch. So head on over to my channel, Palmetto Cats, and hit that subscribe button, and then hit that link that I just posted if you want to vote. And there's all kinds of awesome people that were nominated. So
yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun at the conference this year. We've got all the YouTubers coming out. You know, YouTube booth and the Fisherman's Swap Shop is going to be awesome. I don't know how that's going to work this year. I know at Kansas, I know I heard you talking a few minutes ago where it turned into a give it to the kids kind of thing. But
it was awesome.
It's all fun. Yeah, exactly.
It was awesome.
Everybody got that use of it.
But I know I'm bringing stuff for the booth to sell. I have a low rants and I'm going to bring to sell that, and it's going to be dirt cheap. So get there early if you want a shot at that. But I know a bunch of people I've heard are bringing some stuff to sell, and only costs you $5 to sell. 5 items, $1 a piece to sell them per day. So if you want to bring 5 items on Friday, you can bring them, sell them, bring 5 more on Saturday, $5 each day.
Yep, and the Catfish Conference. Folks, also, I mean, it's just a big family reunion. But if you come in and looking for some products, I mean, we're going to have everything there. Seminars, we're going to have some great seminars. And by the way, talking about seminars, our very own Tim Scott's going to be. You are still doing a seminar for me, right, Tim?
Yeah, and I've got some new stuff planned that's going to be pretty epic. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, like you said, you got to keep it epic now.
Yeah. There's no choice. It's
you got to fix that bait fish, man.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I need to make another one, but I was gonna say people better not miss that the golden whiskers, because then they would miss me in my catfish tuxedo.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, I think that Kevin's gonna have a tuxedo on, isn't he?
I gotta find like Hervé challenged me to find a pink camouflage one, and I can't find one in a big boy size. So
well,
I have to keep looking.
It's not a tuxedo, but it just as well be. I got something planned. Yeah.
Well,
all right,
guys. I hope everybody has enjoyed the show tonight. We are probably going to end it here, if you don't mind. Kevin, I know you like to end your show with a prayer. If you'd like to take us out, we'd love it.
Oh,
Tim, again, thank you so much for coming in and spending your time with us tonight.
Steve, thanks for having me. And Kevin, you both do such a great thing for the catfish community. I mean, jeepers, just tirelessly working. I mean, Kevin's always coming up with new stuff. Steve's got great products and good videos, and Kevin's got, some of the most beautiful videos I've ever seen. Just fantastic stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, I'll pray us out.
All right.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this awesome night, Lord. Thank you for all the people that came in to wish Steve a happy birthday. Lord, we just thank you for blessing our community with Steve and all the things that he's taught, and the definitely the example he has set for what to do right in the catfishing industry. And Lord, we just thank you so much for him. Thank you for Tim and Chris and all the guests that came on, and Hervé. And Lord, we just give you all the credit and honor for all this. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
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 All right, folks. We appreciate it. And remember, live happy, everybody. Just be happy. Leave all the negativity alone. And we'll see you in the next one. See y'all.
All right.